101 ESPN.
Guess what day it is, huh? Hump Day!
To the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. I finally got Danny Mac to smile there.
I always smile during this show. What are you talking about?
But you always try to taunt me into giving a longer good.
I start to laugh at the very end. I was laughing. I try to think of sad things in my life, and there's plenty of those, and block you out, and then by the end of it, I start laughing. Boy, look how red you are, man.
I know, that was a long good.
You need a little bit of a breather. Dan does this on purpose, too, because if you look over, if you watch on YouTube, you can see him, just kind of taking some pretend notes, ignoring Randy. Randy's turning red like a tomato, slowly passing away probably. And then finally Dan looks over.
I'm actually coloring in the zeros or the O's on my page here, my little cut sheet here. So yeah, that's how I do it. And congratulations on maybe your longest ever.
Thank you, Daniel. Dan McLaughlin, Brooke Grimsley, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. The Cardinals winning last night, 4-3 over the Rays, thus the long good. We're going to talk to Kyle Gibson later in the day. Looking forward to that. As always, a lot coming your way. What with the Cardinals winning a game against the Tampa Bay Rays last night at the ballpark. Cardinals hit a couple of two-run home runs in the second inning. Tommy Pham with another one. He's kind of clutch for the Redbirds. And Sonny Gray, after a rugged start, first inning, had a very, very nice outing. Throws 106 pitches, only allows the two-run homer in the first. And the Cardinals wind up winning the game by a score of 4-3. All around, a very nice outing for the Redbirds. However, you want to be in your seat on time.
Because,
yeah. If you're not there by the second inning, if you're a Dodger fan, you get there in the third, you don't see much in terms of offense.
So you're saying you have to get there in time to see Victor Scott the second and his first career home run, which
cool
is
was
two-run bomb. That was awesome. We talked about the adjustments all week that he made in the minors, and Ryan Ludwig was a big part of that. He said that he noticed, he watched him in the cage, and he said, okay, we got to fix something here. And credit to VS2 for listening to that. And it's made a huge difference. You're starting to see that power for him. We saw it in the minors, especially in these last 9 games. And then you saw it here yesterday in the majors. And
it's interesting because he said he was reluctant to make the change. It's the classic, okay, I got to do what got me here. But then his dad says, no, you got to go with the leg kick. Ludwig says, no, you got to go with the leg kick. Howie Clark, the hitting coach down there, says, no, you got to go with the leg kick. And then all of a sudden it kicked in, literally. And he developed a lot more power.
I wonder if he was thinking, like, I got to be a slap hitter. I got to put it on the ground, which is great with his speed, and hit it the other way. But clearly this has made a difference with him. And let's go back to Sonny Gray, who threw over 100 pitches, and we were talking about this off the air. I thought it was great. I thought they needed to extend him, and all of a sudden you're getting that point in the season to find out what you got. And after that first inning, you wonder if it was release point. You wonder if the body and the mechanics were just a little bit out of whack, and you give a guy credit for figuring it out and staying in the game. And I felt like this was one of the most important games of the year. I hate saying, well, this was the most important, or that's the most important series, or they have to win this game, because baseball is so long. But I did feel like coming off a 6-0 loss against the Mets, what happened over the weekend against the Cubs, dropping 3 of 4, I just felt like things were starting to turn. And you could see initially after the 2-run homer, there was issues in the ballpark. It just seemed down. It seemed lifeless. So they needed that win last night. I thought that was important.
And you needed your ace to be your ace. It was really important for him to really settle in after that first inning. We talked about the struggles there, obviously the 2-run homer, and then he was able to settle in and deliver 6 scoreless. You need Sonny Gray to be the ace that he is for your starting rotation. I know that there's always a discussion about if he is a true ace in Major League Baseball. The fact of the matter is that he's the ace for your starting rotation. You need him to perform better. We talked about those numbers numbers dipping in the starting rotation yesterday, and you need Sonny Gray to be a big part of that and really come through.
And he throws 106 pitches, and most of the Cardinal pitchers are limited to 100 or less. But Tony La Russa was never, and I know Tony La Russa is, he's not the darling of the analytics types who love the pitch count. But Tony La Russa would actually watch the game and say to us, when we'd say, well, he got 210 pitches. What were you thinking? They're leaving him in the game. And he'd say, well, but how many of those were stressful pitches? And how's he throwing? How's he look? Not how many pitches does he have, but how's he look when he gets to pitches 107, 108, 109, 110? And that was how Tony would look at it. Not that he didn't use the pitch count at all, but it was more, okay, how many stressful innings, how many stressful pitches did the guy actually throw, and what's he look like as he gets past 100 pitches?
Stressful. Yeah. That's the word. And if you're talking about like high leverage situations, runners on all the time, there's a difference. There definitely is a difference when you have runners on base and pitching in that regard as opposed to when you're in a rhythm. And I thought he got into a rhythm last night, so very important to see him go deeper into games. And I think with under 2 months to go, to your point, Brooke, if this is the guy labeled as the ace of the staff, you got to expect him to go more than 5, more than 6, and quit putting so much pressure on the bullpen. Kittredge in the 8th, and then kind of a scary 9th inning for Ryan Helsley, but got the job done. I just wonder if teams have something on Helsley right now. It does make me think that a little bit because they're getting better swings against him. But bottom line is he got the job done, and Mason Winn makes a great play at the end of the ball game to seal this thing up. So they needed the win, they got it, and they got a pretty good performance out of Sonny Gray.
Yeah, the margin for error is very thin for this team, but they were able to come away with the win. You mentioned Mason Winn. I never get tired of seeing what he's able to do defensively, and here's Winn on his game-ending throw.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. Just wanted to get the game over with. Really didn't want to go to extras. We're using our closer there, so just trying to make a play. I heard Gorm say, "You got it." I didn't even realize how close I was to DeLuca on that play, but, it was just real quick, kind of like a double play ball. I had to get rid of it, but, I'm just glad I made the play there.
When you uncork it, do you think you have a shot at him right there? Or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I threw it, I knew it was out. For the most part, I mean, if I throw a ball really hard, they're out almost 100% of the time. So, I mean, if he was safe, I probably would have just eaten it. But, I thought I had a good chance.
I love the confidence from Mason Winn. And you know what? He's pretty much right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a chance he eats it. I think he's letting that thing eat all the time. And when I say eat, I mean let it fly, man. He's going to show off the arm. And you know what? When he releases one at 100-plus miles an hour, you got a shot.
Yep.
And that's the way he is, deep in the hole or going up the middle like he did last night. I love watching this kid play baseball.
Fantastic.
He really is. He's fun to watch.
Now, I don't want to be a downer here. Debbie Downer, Donnie Downer, whatever you would be.
Randy Downer.
Randy Downer. But here's the thing. Do you guys subscribe to the theory that you might only get one pitch to hit during an at-bat, or if the previous 2 hitters have walked to load the bases?
Oh, I know where you're going here, Randall.
Are you swinging at the first? Do you ever swing at the first pitch?
So let me give you a story. We're going back to Tony La Russa, okay? And I used to say, you're down by 2 runs in the 9th, and the closer for Team X comes in, and your guy is swinging at the first pitch. And the baseball rule of thumb here was that you take a pitch, maybe 2, against, when you're down late into a game. And he said to me, and it changed my mindset, he said, you swing at the first pitch that you think you can drive, even if it's the first pitch of an at-bat, because it might be the only one that you get. Mm-hmm. So when he told me that, I was okay with it. I didn't like seeing it with Arenado last night, but I understand what they're doing. You get 1 pitch to hit. It was after 2 walks, and he hits the first pitch into the ground, and the threat is over. I see both sides of it. I'm old school to where I'm like, man, make him throw a strike after a couple of walks. But maybe what he's thinking in that spot is that this guy's going to groove one. It's going to be my best chance to drive the baseball, and I'm going to go for it. I see both sides of it. I just don't like it.
I don't either, and we're old school, and this is the way the game is played now. You did have springs on the ropes, but and obviously Nolan thought that pitch was the perfect pitch to swing at before he grounded into the double play to end the first inning. But, man, Springs looked like he was on the ropes in the first inning.
Sure did.
With Nolan Arenado, we've talked about this. Do you think that he's just searching or just pushing himself maybe a little bit too much in that regard at the plate? Or it just looks like he might be pressing too much. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think the other part of it is that his pitch is going to be a two-seamer.
Yeah.
And nobody throws him that anymore.
No.
Everything's a four-seamer up with him, and he's a low ball hitter.
So he's searching.
I looked at like Sean Manaea 2 days ago, and I talked about it a lot, where he would stick with a fastball low, and away. And then when 2 strikes came, he would elevate. And he was doing that against the entire lineup. And so I do see that a little bit with Arenado. But going back to the original point, do you guys want to see him swing, or do you want to see him take a pitch? And if not a pitch, maybe 2. And make sure that he gets into the zone because he's struggling to throw strikes. And we're not talking about the end of the game, which Tony talked about. We're talking about early in the game. So my feeling is that you take a strike. I know that goes against what probably the modern look at baseball is, but that's where I'm at.
And the other part of this is that Jeffrey Springs had thrown 3 1/3 innings before last night.
Right.
So he's still finding his way.
Great point.
So, and that's a game plan that you think about, I'm sure, before a game, while you're in the on-deck circle. But it's probably not unlike my golf swing, where I'm addressing the ball, saying, okay, slow, and then, well, here we go, boom. Try to hit it as hard as I can.
And the other thing is, being a young guy, you're speeding. I'm sure the speed of the game was getting really quick on him.
Springs,
Yeah. And that's right. I mean, being a young kid, maybe you take a pitch there.
USA basketball drills Brazil 122-87. The bench was sensational. Edwards, Durant, and Tatum played 20-plus minutes. For the 4th game now, the USA had a different leading scorer. So they're moving things around in terms of the basketball. Devin Booker had 18 to lead the way. Edwards had 17. And now the USA will take on Matthew Rocchio's Serbia squad. But
I wanted it to be. I wanted that to be the final.
Oh.
And I knew it wasn't when I saw the bracket, but like I was just kind of bummed out that it worked out that they were going to have to meet a little bit earlier.
Are you going to get a Jokic Serbia jersey where they don't even know how to spell their own country's name?
We already did this with Brazil, Randy. We can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Next, I'm not going to get mad at Italy when it says Italia.
Well, at least that Italia makes sense. I mean, Serbia, Serbia.
I've tried to explain J's in Serbian to you, Randy. It's a whole thing.
I'm American.
Can you find those jerseys anywhere? Seriously,
I think it may be.
Probably. I mean, well, let's see.
Yeah,
all right.
I think you can get one. Yeah.
So Kevin Durant now is the all-time leader, men and women, in U.S. Olympic history in scoring. And also, the margin of victory has been huge in these games for Team USA. That's now 99 combined points, the margin of victory. So just give them the gold. It's over.
Yeah, Brazil scored 87 points, and 10 of them came on a 10-0 run in the second quarter. So if the USA doesn't have that little let up there towards the end of the second quarter, they win that game by 50.
Yep.
It's just Team USA showing off their depth at this point that we keep talking about. They have so much depth and so much talent. It's just ridiculous.
And
they should just get gold now.
Well, and credit to their defensive intensity. That's all Steve Kerr asks them for, is effort on defense. They play great defensively. And then he says, you just go do your thing on offense, and they do.
How awesome is LeBron?
He's the best player in the world.
He still is the best player.
I can get a 2XL sewn Nikola Jokic jersey for $55 off Amazon. Here's the kicker. $5 delivery, and it'll deliver between September 12th and October 5th.
It's coming to you from China, big boy.
Oh, is this Fanatics shipping? What's going on here?
Really?
Yeah.
And the Patriots say they're no longer going to pursue a trade for 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Steelers and Browns apparently still interested. It is hump day. It is Wednesday, and that means it's Ask Uncle Randy Day here on the opening drive. All you need to do is get your text in now. 314-399-9646. 314-399. Yo-ho!
Early, often, get it out of the way. Yo-ho.
It is done for Dan on this Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. Whatever you're thinking about, man. We got weather today. I don't know if golf will still be great today. If you're outside, it'll be awesome.
It's not supposed to rain, Randall, and a high of 81.
It already rained.
For the rest of the day.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Second alert weather.
Second alert weather coming to you.
It's supposed to be cloudy, not very hot, so maybe you should get out there and knock that little golf ball around.
I think that very well could happen, Dave.
Good.
So anyway, Ask Uncle Randy. Get your text in now. It's coming your way here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here. Is credit card debt creating a lot of stress in your life? You should go call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. They can help with Smart Cash, which is low interest money. Let me tell you about a story that they shared with me here recently. Amy just had her fourth child and they needed to finish the basement in their house. She and her husband put most of it on their credit card, about $20,000, but they were still paying double-digit credit card interest. They did their best paying $900 every single month, but it was just really overwhelming. Her dad suggested that she call Golden Oak Lending to see if her home had increased in value. That way, she could use the extra equity to pay off credit cards. Sure enough, even though they had refinanced before, their home had increased in value. Golden Oak got them their $20,000 in cash. She paid off their credit cards, and Amy is thrilled to not have that monthly payment just hanging over her head. Many people, just like Amy, don't realize how easy it is to use their home's equity to get Smart Cash. If you need cash, go call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. It's easy. They do all the work for you, and it won't cost you a penny out of pocket. So give them a call right now at 314-567-GOLD now to get started, or go to goldenoaklending.com and see all the reviews for yourself. 5.934% APR, FHA, 15-year fixed with 20% equity and qualified credit. Additional terms apply. MLS number 114937.
On our Air Alliance team studio camp today, just go to YouTube and go to youtube.com and then 101 ESPN STL. Brooke, if people are watching today, they'll see that Matthew's wearing a long sleeve pullover, that Danny is wearing a jacket, that I'm wearing a pullover from Lindenwood. Are you cold?
Am I cold?
Yeah, it was cold in the studio today.
It's not cold in here today.
I turned up the thermostat. I didn't know if I put this on just because it was freezing in here when I came in today.
Really?
Yeah.
Some days I come in here and you know that Jamie Rivers was around because it's like a meat locker in here with how cold it is. Today I feel like the temperature is just fine in here.
Okay, good. I might remove the hoodie here.
I feel like it's good. There is some days where it's also extremely warm in here.
Yeah. So but I just wondered because people that might be watching say, "Oh, Brooke's wearing short sleeves." Well, Brooke is tough, but it has become more comfortable. All right, it is Ask Uncle Randy time. Matthew, what do you got for us on the old text line? Anything controversial this morning?
Controversial.
I can't tell if this is real or if somebody just flipped this around from a few weeks ago, but we got this from 217.
Okay.
Dear Uncle Randy, my wife works at 5 a.m. and goes to bed early, and I don't have to go to bed until I don't have to go into work until 10 a.m. She wants me to go to bed early with her, but I want to go be a bar rat. I can't tell if this is a flip or a legitimate thing. Let's just treat it as legitimate for now.
Yeah, you can't be a bar rat.
It is.
Sorry, your bar rat days are over. Sorry, buddy. And if she wants you to go to bed with her, there's a reason. So take that into account as well.
What's the reason?
My man. just some CPAP time.
Oh, okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, CPAP time.
I had a lot of
Couples who
people.
CPAP together stay together.
I had a lot of people asking me about CPAP the other day. You did a deep dive on that.
We did, and we actually got an email. I have a meeting with the company tomorrow about a CPAP alternative that doesn't include having to have a hose on the front of my.
Let's go, Randy.
Because I'm a side sleeper on both sides.
Yeah.
So I can't use a regular CPAP. So I've got a meeting about an alternative tomorrow. So hopefully hopefully my sleep apnea will be a thing of the past.
What is the alternative, though?
It's like a mouth guard thing that you put in. You can also put like duct tape over your face, I think. Duct tape over your mouth.
Mouth tape. That's
there
what I
go.
told
Yeah.
you.
Duct tape, yeah.
Mouth tape.
Yeah. So that's a
Duct tape.
I'm not putting duct tape on my mouth every single night.
You are never
specifically.
You're never going to beat the sociopath charges.
No,
Sorry.
I'm not as
It's-
I'm not
you're
Dennis
done.
on Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Okay, like I'm not. All right. I picked bagel
are you
bites over
Dexter?
pizza rolls the other day.
But are you
I wear
Dexter?
mouth tape. No.
You realize, Brooke, that they do have video at the cash register at Dearborn, right? Just saying.
Oh my gosh.
Uncle Randy.
I'll bring in the mouth tape for you guys.
Okay.
So you
Can't
can
wait to
see.
try it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been waiting
And
for that.
report back
I've
to
been
me.
waiting for that threat. I've been
That'll
waiting
make
for
for
the
a good
threat.
broadcast.
I'm bringing the mouth tape. Uncle Randy, the family has a low-key getaway this weekend to Innsbruck. It's going to be hot. I mean, hot.
That's going to be beautiful.
Have you played the Innsbruck golf course? Is it worth braving the heat?
Oh, yeah. Innsbruck Golf Course, designed by one Jay Randolph, Sr. It's a terrific place, and the weather for the next 10 days is scheduled, second alert weather coming your way here on 101 ESPN, scheduled to be beautiful here in the St. Louis Metro. Let's take a look at it for you. Saturday and Sunday, it is not going to be hot. High of 79 and sunny on Saturday. High of 82 on Sunday. High of 75 on Monday. Chance of rain on Monday. But, no, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, absolutely gorgeous. And temperatures just into the 80s, even if they get to the 80s. So, no, you go and play. But even if it was going to be hot, Innsbruck is worth going out and playing. Low-key weekend at Innsbruck is awesome.
And make sure you go say hi to Kevin Korn. He is a buddy of ours. He is the head pro. He does a lot of things through golf for special needs kids. And didn't Jay Randolph Sr., he won the Egyptian Open, I believe. Does that sound right?
I think so,
So
yeah.
he had a professional win. What a golfer he was. And
Yeah.
Jay Jr., God rest his soul, he was a hell of a golfer, too.
South Carolina, right?
Yeah,
Played
there.
in the SEC.
Yep.
By the way, Kevin Korn and our friends out at Innsbruck also hosting later in the year, I think in October, we've got a Folds of Honor tournament out there, too.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it'll be good. So thanks to them.
No yawning, Rock.
I was off camera, man. Come on, don't blow up my spot. What the heck, dude?
No yawning.
Jesus. Man, I was being smart about it. I had the mic off. You son of a...
Here, Dan walks in this morning and says, man, sometimes these early mornings get here early.
Yeah,
and Danny's not yawning.
No, not at all. I got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Blows up my spot on it? Jeez. Dear Uncle Randy, I married my wife that had a 3-year-old boy whose father had passed. Over time, I became dad. I was his dad growing up, coached his sports and all that. Now that he's 18, I'm no longer dad. I'm Kyle. Should this bother me or should I just accept it?
That's a good question, Uncle Randy.
That's a very good question. I believe, unfortunately, that, it's not unfortunate. He knows that you're his dad, all right? But he also looks at you as somebody that he relates to on a first-name basis on that level. I think that's a good thing as he has reached 18, that he feels like you're not only his father, but you're somebody that he can trust in and be a friend of. And because he's 18, you don't have to worry about discipline anymore. I think this worked out very well for you. But you and he both know at the end of the day, even though you aren't his biological dad, that you grew up as his father. He grew up as having you as his father. So, no, I would not be... I understand where you're coming from, but Uncle Randy says, you know what? Being called Kyle by him is pretty cool. And if you guys can get out and do things and you have a great relationship, the name and what you're addressed as doesn't really... I don't think it's a big deal.
Can I go back to something you just said?
Yeah.
No discipline at age 18?
You know, once they pass age 18, he's a man. Kyle's a man.
Agreed.
He can make his own choices.
But he's living under your roof.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he knows the difference between right and wrong now.
Okay.
The hay is in the barn in terms of raising a kid.
Hay's in the barn.
Yeah, in terms of getting to age 18.
And you guys
Okay.
can speak to this. The parenting relationship really evolves too, obviously, as your child gets older, kind of with what you're talking about. When you hit 18, especially if they're making their own money, even if they're living with you, the relationship changes a little bit. I feel like there's ebbs and flows when it comes to the parenting relationships. Like sometimes you're very close, then you're a little distant, and then you become close again. There's a lot of changes from what I understand
No
that
doubt.
happens.
No doubt.
I hope my kids like me at some point again.
Yeah. They like you. You know what? You can love somebody but still not like them at a moment, or have a moment where you don't like them, but you still love them. And so that's with teenagers. That's kind of where you are.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes.
I'm in a tough spot.
Well,
They'll come back around,
They
Danny,
know
trust
they
me.
need you. Here's the thing, though. They know they need you.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you, Uncle Randy.
you got it. One other note. I think there's a lot of biological parents and kids where the kid refers to mother or father by the first name.
My parents hate that.
But it does happen, right?
I just got a big row with my mom last time I was at dinner with her, actually, about it. Because I jokingly called her, and she's like, "You're not going to do that." And I was like, "Okay, I'm 30. I'm 32 years old. I'm not going to be told. I'm going to call you. I'll call you whatever I want to call you."
Anything but late for dinner.
Well, a lot of other conversations she doesn't want to have either. But hey, it's just because my thing is that he's not your kid. So if he doesn't feel comfortable calling you dad, even if it is under your roof, I feel like you got to respect that factor as well, because that's a comfortability factor from the kid too.
Okay. I see both sides.
Yeah, but we have
I can see both.
we have a 15-year history, and he's obviously reached that point where he thinks that as men, you guys are equal. So that's fine, Kyle. Thanks for checking in. I wouldn't feel bad about it, though.
Yeah.
Bottom line, your son, and he is your son. He loves you.
My wife cheated on me prior to my marriage and lied about it for 11 years. This was 2 years ago. I'm still dealing with the insecurities, so I suggested going to counseling, and she's worried we'll end up getting divorced because the counselor will suggest it. Is her argument valid?
No, and here's why. The counselor's got a business. And the counselor isn't counseling divorced people. The counselor is counseling married people that are having issues. So, no, just look at it. Always follow the money. Okay? The counselor is not going to suggest that you get divorced. It just doesn't make sense on their part financially. So, Uncle Randy says, no, if it's not an issue. And now your bride might think that's the case. I do think counseling is a good thing for you guys, because obviously you're working through some stuff. But, hey, if it was, she told you 2 years ago, and you've been married for 11 years, and so we're talking well over a decade ago, I would base my thought process on everything that's happened since the wedding day. Why don't we do that? And I know you might be messed up in the head, but maybe the thing for you to do is go to your own counseling. Don't go to couples counseling. Go to your own counselor and try to get this taken care of within your own head.
I really like your Lindenwood sweatshirt, by the way.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. Go Lions.
Go Lions is right.
Great advice from the Lindenwood Lion over there. I do agree with you. I don't understand why she would be super hesitant to go to couples counseling. I think that individual counseling would be important, especially if he needs to work on and he wants to work on getting over this. But she should be listening to him if this is something that is really bothering him. A good marriage counselor, and I would at least try to convince her to have the discussion with a marriage counselor. They're not going to try to tell you, go get divorced or something like that. They instead will listen to what you guys want to say. And no, Rocchio, don't laugh at
Oh, no,
that
he's
one.
laughing at the text line.
Text that came in. Jeez. I will turn the mic off again.
No.
Yeah, what I do.
No, I know. I saw the text that came in. And so don't do what it says on the text line. It says, cheat on her, you'll feel way better. Don't do that. But going back to the serious advice, I think that actually going to the marriage counselor, if that's something that you want, then she should listen to that. And I think that's very important, because the counselor is not going to tell you to go get divorced.
Right.
If anything, they're going to help you work through this so that you guys can stay together, because this is obviously something, and he has valid feelings about this that he needs to be able to feel more comfortable with.
And here's to the most recent texter's point, though, if she does decide that she doesn't want to go to counseling, say, okay, do I get a hall pass then?
That's when things get messy, Randy.
That's biblical. That's biblical.
We
Eye
weren't
for an
gonna
eye.
take 636's advice. Uncle Randy, have you ever heard of Stream Song in South Florida? Is it worth $350? I'm the best man next month at a wedding, which is cool, but I also found out I have to pay for the groom because I am the best man. So that's $700 plus drinks and cigars while I'm there. Is it going to be worth it?
Well, hopefully he'll only get married once. Okay. It is a party, and yes, it is worth it. I have not played Stream Song. Danny, have you?
I have not, but I've talked to people that have, and they said it's one of like top 5 bucket list places to go. They absolutely love it.
Yeah. So, just this is one where it is worth it. If you have the wherewithal to spend $700 for you and your buddy on golf and cigars and that stuff, hopefully it'll make it an unforgettable experience. So yes, I would say that would be the good thing to do. And I'll tell you this. And I think most guys would agree that are golfers. And Dan, you can weigh in here. As the groom, I would be very appreciative of that. That would be, when you talk about bucket list experiences, that would make your wedding weekend unforgettable.
That's all I asked for. Is with my groomsmen was to let's just go play golf. Let's just make it easy, and we made it a whole event. It was awesome. Played 36. It was great. Made a whole day out of it. It was a lot of fun.
Good. You got one more, Matthew?
One more, this is a good one. Dear Uncle Randy, my daughter is going to be a freshman at a new school starting next week. She has generally struggled making new friends and is anxious. Any general advice to getting connected? P.S. She is a little introverted, just like her father.
Okay, I wish I had an age here. Yeah. But one thing that you can tell your daughter.
I assume high school.
Okay, let's do that. There are a couple of things. One thing that I think helps at a high school age, younger age, is if you smile all the time. When you smile, the world smiles with you. So I would recommend, I know she's introverted, I know that she's nervous, but if you smile at people, generally they'll smile back, and it's a great way to make friends. Here's the other thing. And we don't understand this when we're kids, but everybody's the same. If you go up, and it's hard to be courageous, but if you go up and whatever, let's just assume her name is Missy, and she goes up to somebody in a class or at lunch and says, "Hi, I'm Missy. Nice to meet you." People are generally nice. 99% of the people are nice. And at that age, I think people want to feel accepted. So if you go up and accept them right away, I think that's a great way to go about making friendships. So I feel bad that your daughter is introverted, but what you have to do is tell her, ask her, say, hey, just be courageous with one kid. But the big thing for me, and I think you go back to your high school days, the cool people were always smiling. The people that you wanted to be around, the people that had a lot of friends were always smiling.
I think that's really good advice. And also, so he texted back and said that she's 14. Okay. I understand. It's very intimidating starting your freshman year of high school. I remember all the nerves with that, and you want to impress everybody. You want to make as many new friends as possible. Maybe she has some special interests, whether it could be joining a book club. I mean, there's so many opportunities in high school.
Not Michelle's book club, by the way, but another.
Randy, come on.
Not the baseball
don't do
book
that
club.
one.
Yeah.
Don't do that one again. But joining a book club or maybe other events, like if she's into sports or just trying something new, that is the best way to make new friends.
It is. Just tell her, and I think we can all agree, all four of us, on that first day of school, especially 14, freshmen, everybody's nervous. Tell her, make sure that she knows everybody feels the exact same way that she does.
Were you introverted as a youngster?
Totally.
Isn't it crazy how many people were in this business, and then all of a sudden they come out and you're on the air every day and talking to thousands of people?
Yeah, I didn't come out of my shell until I was in my 20s, really.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Were you introverted, Dan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. I just dove into playing sports and reading about sports, listening to sports, watching sports, competing in sports. That was my outlet.
Yeah. Me too.
That was it. I enjoyed it.
With sports.
Yeah.
I tried to become popular by buying a cool car. Didn't help much.
What was your car again?
It was a cool car. It was an orange Firebird Formula.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
It was
I will
a cool
say.
car.
Yeah. Did that help at all?
Nah.
No?
No.
Not even with the ladies?
Oh, no. Subsequently, I found out that it would have, but
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
But subsequently, so not in the moment.
Keep it on the rails, Randall.
I know it's on the rails. It's on the rails.
Okay.
So there you have Ask Uncle Randy. Thanks so much for your text. Hope everybody enjoys the quality advice that we provided for, well, the advice that we provided. Coming up,
Not quality.
you never know. We'll find out next week. Coming up, in addition to adding more teams to the playoff mix, what has the expanded playoff done to benefit baseball? There's one thing that we were thinking about yesterday that really has kind of changed baseball. That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, did you know that homes in St. Louis commonly face water heater issues like sediment buildup, odd sounds, insufficient hot water, and leaks? No matter what issue you may be experiencing, my friends at Hoffman Brothers can quickly diagnose and solve that problem. Schedule today at Hoffman Brothers by going to hoffmanbros.com or just give them a call or a text at 314-664-3011. And don't forget to get your air conditioner checked out. If you haven't had that maintenance done, you need to do it because the Hoffman Brothers people do it right. And if you're in the Hoffman Brothers Home Protection Plan, that includes 2 seasonal maintenances for your heating and cooling systems. Free filters if you sign up today, and you can have peace of mind knowing that you're covered by that home protection plan. You can schedule your maintenance again at hoffmanbros.com or give them a call at 314-664-3011, and you will be good to go for the rest of the summer. You know, we're going to go through September, and it's still going to get hot here in St. Louis, so make sure that your air conditioner is good to go with Hoffman Brothers, a Mitsubishi Elite electric contractor.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals back in the winning column as they open up their series against the Rays with a 4-3 win, thanks to two two-run shots in the second inning. They'll look to stay in the winning column with Game 2 tonight, 6:45 first pitch against the Rays. It'll be Taj Bradley for Tampa Bay. The righty on the season is 6-5 with a 2.71 ERA. He faces off against Eric Fetty in his second start as a Cardinal. Fetty on the season, 7-5 with a 3.34 ERA. And yesterday in the Olympics, Team USA faces off against Brazil and wins 122-87. That is your SportsCenter update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
One thing we saw at last week's MLB trade deadline is the difference between the decent general managers and pobos and the people that just don't seem to get it on a regular basis. And guys, I think one of the things that's happened here with the expansion of the playoffs, it's so much more difficult to make moves because there are so many more teams in the race and they don't want to cash out. So you only had like 5 sellers last week. And it seems like the franchises that continually win, Atlanta made a couple of big moves. The Dodgers made a couple of big moves. The Phillies made moves. And they aren't necessarily big moves, but they're moves like getting Tommy Edman for the Dodgers. That's a guy that will make a play in the playoffs that will win a game for you. The Phillies going out and getting Austin Hayes from the Orioles. They need a right-handed bat in the outfield. So what's Dave Dombrowski do? He goes out and gets a guy that's just a perfect fit for what they're trying to do. And then you look at the Braves going and getting Soler. They lost Ronald Acuna, so they've done things to try to backfill with the loss of Ronald Acuna. And the Cardinals, as much as you guys hate Mo, the fact of the matter is nobody did a better job of filling needs than the Cardinals and John Mozeliak. There's a lot of franchises out there, Milwaukee being one of them in our division, and they still might wind up winning the division. I think they probably will, but they didn't have a very good trade deadline.
No, I think that the thing is with the postseason, the regular season, we say it all the time, is a marathon, and the postseason is a sprint. It does seem now, though, because of the format that you have for the postseason, that even if you do really well during the regular season, you're the best during the regular season, that doesn't guarantee you anything anymore. That's what we're seeing now. You saw the Dodgers last year. You saw the Orioles last year. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to make it to the World Series. Does it feel like it's impossible to kind of build a World Series super team now for GMs?
No, I don't think that. And I think right now is that what this format sets up is that you can award mediocrity. So what is the motivation for teams to go out and spend money in the offseason? Now, the teams that you mentioned, Randy, Dodgers, Phillies, who else did you talk about? There was 3 teams you mentioned. Atlanta. These teams are spending money.
High revenue teams. And
so the other teams, personally, I think it's great. I think it gives fan bases hope. You have a bunch of teams that make it interesting in September. I agree with you that it does water down maybe the trade deadline because all these teams want to hold on to some of the assets that they have. But looking at it in the offseason, the teams that spend a lot of money, not always, but it just seems like they're going to be awarded with postseason play. So ask yourself the question, what's the motivation? Do you want to just get in, or do you want to make sure that you get in by spending a lot of money?
And I think you can do that. But, Brooke, you ask an interesting question. Because when we look at the Dodgers right now, with Chris Taylor out of the lineup, they're playing Jason Hayward, and Jason Hayward is a key player on their team. Their third baseman is supposed to be Max Muncy. Their second baseman, they just cut Kevin Biggio, and they've got Gavin Lux at second. Sure, they have Ohtani, and they have Freddie Freeman, and they have Betts, and they have Will Smith. But do they really have a super team? I don't think that they're comparable to the old Yankees teams that had an all-star seemingly at every position. And interestingly, when you talk about super teams, I think when everybody is healthy, I think the closest thing to a super team right now is the Atlanta team that has pretty much everybody developed by them.
And locked up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the closest thing because with the way that the postseason is, Dan, to your point, it's about just getting into October and building a team that can withstand injuries at that point. Even look at what the Rangers did last year. They were very aggressive with their postseason moves, but then a lot of injuries happened, and they were able to pivot and get Jordan Montgomery, which helped them down the stretch and obviously winning a World Series. But it seems like there's not a perfect formula to build a super team at this point because if you win the most during the regular season, that doesn't really guarantee you anything moving forward.
That's the key. Spending for a super team, and we see it year after year after year, it can help. The Rangers did everything they could last year to build a super team and, well, at least a super pitching staff, and they spent on a manager, and they wound up winning the World Series. But when you look at the recent history of the National League, that's certainly not the end-all, be-all in terms of winning. And when you look at the recent American League teams that have been there, the most dominant team in the American League over the last few years has been the Houston Astros, and Houston's key players have been developed over the course of time. Bregman, Altuve, Kyle Tucker, the right fielder. And then they went out and they found an inefficiency in baseball by finding their young international pitchers, the 21-year-olds that nobody had signed. You're done by 17 in Latin America. Kids develop at 18, 19, 20, 21. The Astros went and signed a bunch of these guys, and that turned into a starting rotation for them.
I can look at the wild card today, and there are 9 teams, and this excludes the division leaders, but this is 9 teams right now that still have a chance within 6 games of the wild card. I think that's good for baseball. You may not like it. It may be the theory that just get in and see what happens, which I think a lot of teams are taking that mindset. But to have 9 teams and their fan base is still engaged, I kind of like that. I think it's a good thing.
Here's all we need to say is that the Pittsburgh Pirates have a chance.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, the Cubs are still in it. They're 6 games out.
Yep.
They could go on a run here, and all of a sudden they're within 2 games, and it makes it fun in September for their fan base.
Right. We would be, and they probably are, but in Pittsburgh, it'd be Steelers. Now there might be a Pirates segment here and there because they're 4 games out of a wild card spot as we speak.
And high school football comes in.
Yeah.
Pitt locally in college.
Yep.
Then the Steelers. And then, there's a lot of interest with the hockey team, too.
Right. So field a competitive team. If you're Major League Baseball, get interest in places. By the way, Cleveland is really, that's a good franchise. But Arizona, like last year, Arizona, they hang in there, and that builds interest, and they're drawing great this year. So I think baseball's expansion of the playoffs, while watering it down, no doubt about that, has been an overall benefit for baseball.
I think everybody enjoys the parody of it, right? Because then you don't know what to expect. Yes, a team might look really good on paper, might have over 100 wins like we saw with teams last season, but that didn't guarantee anything about going on to win a World Series. And I think that just kind of comparing it to some other sports, this is why I think this is great for college football that they expanded their playoffs, because now it feels like there's more of a chance for other fan bases and teams than ever before. And sometimes with the NBA, you kind of know the super teams are going to make it, right? All the way to the end. But you even saw last year where there's some other teams that kind of push the boundaries of what you were expecting. I think it's a good thing because it changes the narrative. I think people like rooting for the underdog. Diamondbacks last year, nobody was expecting them to do that, and they still were able to make it all the way to the end. I think that stuff is exciting.
There's an award mediocrity. I'll go back to that. And some fans are saying, no, I want to see my team go out and spend to the luxury tax. And I don't necessarily agree with that right now, because you got to spend smartly, first of all. But secondly, for baseball and a general thing, I go back to what we have in the wild card. 9 teams still there. Randy used the word hope. Gives you hope.
It does. Yeah. And let's make one other point here, because what we're describing here, I think, is only going to get better. You use the word parity, Brooke. From 2012 to 2015, these are the top overall choices for the Houston Astros. 1, 37, 1, 37, 5, and 2. They had 3 first overall picks, a 5th and a 2nd in the space of 6 years. That'll never happen again.
White Sox will pick 10th
at best next year.
That's hard to believe.
So tanking doesn't do you any good anymore. So now there is a premium actually put on being smart. and that will lead hopefully to more parity and better front office performance.
And it makes you also very tactful. I mean, what Young did last year with the Rangers to continue to pivot, I mean, there's moments where they couldn't have added. I think that to your question, Dan, about what you're saying about does it reward mediocre teams, I think that it's hard to argue that they aren't making aggressive moves, because with Corbin Carroll, even if you look at spending-wise, maybe the Diamondbacks, the Diamondbacks didn't spend a lot of money, but they were very tactful in a lot of the ways that they spent their money. You even add Tommy Pham. I mean, there was additions that they made down the stretch that actually did pay off without having to go and spend a lot of money versus like what the Rangers did. It was two very different teams and how they approach things and their spending.
The Padres lost Juan Soto in their entire rotation. They lost Waka, Lugo, Nick Martinez,
Yu Darvish.
I'm just talking about the guys that left them over the offseason.
Oh, I got you.
So Waka, Lugo, Martinez, Snell, the Cy Young Award winner. They lost 5 starting pitchers and Soto, and they're better than they were last year.
So you posed the question, in addition to adding more teams to the playoff mix, what is the expanded playoff done to baseball? So let's go back to the original point. Is it good or bad?
Good.
I think
it's good too.
Yep.
I think it's a good thing for the game.
Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It on 101 ESPN. The text line is open for you, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Tioli next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, Danny Mac on this Wednesday morning for Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, and if you're looking to consolidate that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let's make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He's on the air with us right now here on 101 ESPN. And Stewie, what about a cash-out refinance for those that are listening right now?
Danny, I got a great story for you. About a year and a half, this customer bought a house. His interest rate was in the high 7s. Then his grandfather, who was in his 90s, always cherished a certain car, wanted that car. So for his birthday, he did a cash-out refinance, got money to buy the car, and got $15,000 to do improvements on his house. You know how much his payment went up? $15 a month. That's it. Because the rates have dropped, he was able to refinance it, get the cash he wanted, keep his payment close to where he was, and make his family and his grandpa happy.
I love these stories that you bring on the air. If it's a new home or you're looking to purchase, Stewie's going to get you to the closing table fast. Try 10 days, and he'll get you the best interest rate possible. You always hear about the bagel loan. That can help you out, too. So you're asking, what is the bagel loan with Stewie? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewie, he is your guy. Makes it easy. Any questions on the rates, the industry, the trends, or what you hear right now from Stewart, give him a call. Here's his personal cell phone, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440. Or Stu, what else can you do?
Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
don't, send it right back. Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Time for Teola here on 101 ESPN. Brooke, Dan, Matthew, and Randy. And we all watched Anthony Edwards in the playoffs and the interview with the folks at Inside the NBA and how fun he has been for Team USA basketball. And his team's, air quotes, owner, Alex Rodriguez in Paris threw a birthday party for Anthony Edwards. Take it or leave it. Basketball needs A-Rod to stay away from Anthony.
Oh.
And for people that don't know, A-Rod trying to get the Minnesota Timberwolves ownership group together. Yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take it.
We don't need that. We don't need Anthony Edwards with the gift had to be a centaur of him, right? That'll hang above his bed. Did you ever see that? A-Rod had a centaur A-Rod picture of him above his bed on his wall.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Now I have to Google this real quick.
Just Google Alex Rodriguez centaur. Yeah,
and there was the picture of him staring in the mirror in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
That was another one, too.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something.
It's almost like a lot of athletes have an ego.
Yeah.
You don't say. All right, take it or leave it, guys. Charles Barkley will not retire. He will stay with TNT, even if there's no NBA. Take it or leave it. You don't care if he's not covering NBA. You'll watch anything that Chuck is on.
I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
I would love to see him on some NHL coverage, which there's been some talk that maybe he would do that and chime in on that and give the perspective of just the average fan. He's out of his mind on some of the things that he does. Then you'd still get him on the NCAA tournament, too. That would be part of the agreement. He's got 210 million reasons why to come back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, news of his demise was a little too early. Chuck's coming back.
He is.
I'm glad. Can we get him on NASCAR, too?
Why not?
That would be so much fun.
Speaking of NASCAR, take it or leave it. A new report suggests that Major League Baseball plans to have the Reds and Braves play a game at Bristol Motor Speedway. Take it or leave it. That's a good thing for baseball.
Oh, take it.
Spectacular.
That is so cool. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that is a great idea.
A little half-mile oval, right, in Bristol, Tennessee.
How would you make the stadium, though? You know, the infield is not... The infield for a car race wouldn't be as big as you need for a baseball field, I wouldn't imagine.
Isn't it a little risky for baseball to be putting themselves in $146,000 seat capacity?
Well, you'd have to cut it off, I guess. Right?
Yeah, that's for NASCAR. Its peak capacity is 160,000. Depending on how you have to break up parts of the infield and the track, I don't know if you can get to that. But I'm just saying, is this the best time for baseball to be rolling the dice on having to fill 100,000 fans?
I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
Oh,
I hope they do it.
Would love it. Yeah.
My guess would be that you'd cut off though a portion of the stands and maybe cover them up and then say, we can get 50,000 in here. You know, maybe something like that. I just don't know how logistically you would do that. That would be crazy to try to do that. It'd be tough, but I think it'd be good. Yeah, they'll find a way.
I think that's such a great idea. I love when they do kind of out-of-the-box things like that and really promote it. Braves are huge in Tennessee, by the way, so it makes a lot of sense.
Team of the South.
Yeah. All right, Matthew, we got a few texts.
Take it or leave it. If you're Mike Shilly, you're really hoping that it's Cardinals-Padres in that one-game playoff.
Oh.
I'll take it, yeah.
I'll take it.
Got to take it.
Yeah.
So that did they have a one game to make to be the final wild card? Is that what we're talking about?
8-2 in their last 10. I'd have to look it up exactly
I think
where
they'll
they're
wind up being the number one wild card. I really do.
I do too.
I guess it would be the 3-game series because they got rid of the one game.
But I wonder if there's a tie for the last wild card.
I think it
comes down to head to head.
Yeah, I think they drug out the tiebreakers so that there's not actually a played 153 anymore.
Right.
I think that was one of the things. Is that there's no played 153. They just 90 tiebreakers now.
Maybe we should clarify there will not be a game going on during a race.
Oh, that would be so great.
Insane.
Oh my God.
Because there's some people concerned. I know they're joking, but still concerned about what if a foul ball hits a car? Which
you said it was going to be the Reds, right?
Window. Yeah.
Oh my God, Nick Castellanos would kill a driver.
He's in Philly now.
Oh, he's in Philly now. I keep forgetting.
He's all over the place.
He's all over the place. I was got Castellanos. Take it or leave it. With the addition of Pham, Gorman is fighting for playing time over Pages at this point. Because of the DH for Contreras. Yeah, I see how they're getting there.
How is Contreras making the kind of money that he's making and not catching more than he is? You signed him as a catcher.
Yep.
We talked about this yesterday. Doesn't it make it interesting that he just doesn't play as much behind the plate?
It is interesting, but evidently Pages has a great relationship with the pitchers, and they love throwing to him. And I guess that makes a difference. Not that they don't love throwing to Wilson, but I wonder also if the injury to Contreras is contributing to his not catching as much.
That's a good point.
That broken arm, man, that's a big deal.
And he came back after, 6.5 weeks?
Yeah, rather than 8 to 12 or whatever.
I got to wonder, too, with Arenado, if there's an underlying type of injury that he's dealing with this year. He's kind of mentioned it a little bit, but, if you're a player, you don't make that public. You just kind of grit and bear it. I just wonder if there's something going on with him.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's kind of hinted towards that, especially if you remember his quote going into the All-Star break about getting healthy. I think that he has been battling something.
By the way, if there is a tie atop the division or for the final wild card spot, the tie is broken by head-to-head now in Major League Baseball, so there is no extra game played.
That's why that Mets game was important with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So the Mets have the season series, so to speak, and then they would be above St. Louis in a tie.
I just want to throw out Contreras right now is 9 games not at catcher since the All-Star break, 8 games at catcher since the All-Star break.
So
it's about an even split so far for
right. Yep. Thank you, Matthew.
Wait, one more.
Okay.
You sent this one in for your burner, I think. Take it or leave it. Jaden Daniels will have a better statistical year than Caleb Williams. Randy was all over Jaden Daniels before the show.
Well, that's because somebody on Sportsmanlike was. I think it was the Carton guy who was in for Evan and Michelle today. Here's the thing, though. Caleb Williams has 3 really good weapons.
Yep.
Jaden Daniels has the wide receiver from Ohio State. Terry McLaurin. They don't have a ton else, and I really question whether or not Cliff Kingsbury is a legitimate NFL offensive coordinator for a rookie quarterback. I don't know.
What would ever make you second guess that?
Yeah, just wondering, Brooke. Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I'm gonna even though Caleb Williams has to play in December in Chicago, I am going to go with Williams to have better numbers than Daniels as a passer.
Yes.
That being said, Daniels might wind up accounting for more points because of his running ability. He's been compared to Lamar here, or Kyler Murray in training camp.
Don't you get concerned, though, with a guy that is that young running this early and how long he can last in the league?
Yep, especially for a franchise that had Robert Griffin III.
That's where I'm going.
Yep.
I will just throw out, they signed Austin Eckler in the offseason to back up Brian Robinson. They drafted Luke McCaffrey in the 3rd round of this past draft. Their top 3 wide receivers now, though, are Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, and Olamide Zacchaeus. So not the best group compared to the Bears one.
No. So it'll be interesting, though. And I think that the raw talent of Jaden Daniels, just in terms of all around, being able to run and throw, I think it surpasses Caleb Williams, but I get the sense that Williams is just a better quarterback.
Got to have people around you, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to your original point, the weapons that he has, pretty darn good. And that's going to help him along the way, for sure.
That's Dan. That's Brooke. That is Matthew. Thanks very much for your texts. We do appreciate them. Coming up, the Cardinals are battling for playoff position right now, but might they run this same group back next year? That's next on 101 ESPN.
I've been to hundreds of Cardinals games and I've never caught a foul ball or home run, but I can always catch a great deal in the McDonald's app. Every Cardinals game day, I can get a $6 medium Big Mac combo meal in the app. It comes with a Big Mac, world-famous fries, and an ice-cold soft drink like Coca-Cola, all for just $6. So I don't even bother bringing a glove to the game, but I always bring my McD app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Offer valid 3/28/24 through 9/29/24. Participating McDonald's valid once a day. Must opt into rewards. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Coca-Cola is a registered trademark of the Coca-Cola Company.
You wouldn't trust a butcher to babysit your pet pig. You wouldn't trust a lumberjack to repair your antiques. Or a professional wrestler to be your massage therapist. So why would you trust anyone but AMCO to fix your car? For over 50 years, we've been the trusted experts in transmission repair.
AMCO offers easy payment plan options for most any credit situation, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow at AMCO.
AA MCO.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. The heat has arrived and it is sticking around, so do not cool off the outside this year. Call my guys over at Universal Windows Direct. While we're all excited for it to be warm outside, I know at least I am. I love the warm weather. I don't enjoy the energy bill that comes with it, and that's where Universal comes in handy. Their windows feature super spacer technology, which helps keep the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window sill longer, and makes your windows last up to 5 times longer than other window systems. So your windows from Universal perform better and they last longer. Schedule your free in-home estimate today, and for every 2 windows you buy, get the next 2 for free, plus 0% financing for 36 months. That's 3 years. Restrictions apply. Universal Windows Direct backs it all up with a true lifetime warranty as long as you own the home, and a 20-year warranty to the next homeowner. Mention my name and get an additional $250 off your next project. So go to uwd.com. That's uwd.com, and like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Top stories. It's the opening drive's fresh take.
The Ascension Charity Classic Legends Breakfast is going on this morning, and our Brooke Grimsley is going to be doing the interviews of the legends. So one legend interviewing other legends today.
Oh, wow.
No. Not whatsoever. Very excited to go over there. You guys know I enjoy the Ascension Charity Classic, and you guys do a lot with it as well. It's such a great event, and I'm very excited to be able to do this. Dan, thank you for bringing my name up in this conversation for this. So I'm really excited to go over there to the Legends Breakfast this morning.
You get to interview Ozzy. He'll be up there, who has a huge part in what's happening locally in golf, not just obviously baseball and a Cardinal Hall of Famer. And then Judy Rankin is back in town, and she's a World Golf Hall of Famer, considered one of the best on the female side, and she grew up playing at Forest Park.
How about that?
Back in St. Louis, Judy Rankin. So have fun, and those two are great people.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
And we will see you tomorrow.
Yes. All right. Have a good show, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Brooke headed over there today, and it's one of the great events in St. Louis on the St. Louis sports calendar, and so well supported by the St. Louis corporate community. So it'll be good to have Brooke over there.
I think there's over 175 corporate sponsors as a part of the Ascension Charity Classic, which means St. Louis is stepping up.
No doubt about it. So fresh take today. We were talking about this yesterday, and I don't want to alarm anybody, but the Cardinals they're 2 games over 500 right now. And when you look at what they have, and when you look at the television situation, which we don't have any idea about, but then there was a report last week that the franchise, the ownership asked the front office to not raise payroll through trades. Dan, would you be surprised if next year's opening day outfield was Newt Barr or Victor Scott, Ciani or Victor Scott, and Walker and Wright, with an infield of Arenado, Winn, Donovan, and Burleson, with Contreras or Pages catching? Would it surprise you at all if that would be your Cardinal opening day lineup next year?
No. I do think, though, there's a trickle-down effect to an extent. You were talking about the outfield, of what you do with Paul Goldschmidt. Mm-hmm. So if you brought him back, or if you don't, let's just say that for argument's sake, you didn't bring him back, which a lot of fans would say don't do it, but I think the organization values and loves legacy, and he's close to being a Hall of Famer. He's very, very close when you look in terms of WAR for first basemen that are in the Hall of Fame. But for argument's sake, if you didn't bring him back, Burleson then would move to first, would be my guess, and he'd be a DH. Walker then would be a part of your outfield next year. That's something to consider. Mm-hmm. The other one I think about, too, is Nolan Gorman expendable at this point? You've given him a pretty good run, so then that would move Donovan to second base and open up some spots in the outfield, too. So we're specifically talking about lineup here. That wouldn't surprise me one bit.
And then, you know Gray is going to be here. You know Fetty is going to be here. You know Michaelis is going to be here. Palante is presumably will be here. And then you're going to have, unless you move them, Liberatore, Zach Thompson, Graceffo, Quinn Matthews. You have options on Lynn and Gibson to bring them back. Helsley has another year before free agency. Ryan Fernandez, Riley O'Brien, Roy Croft, Leahy, Sean Armstrong, Jojo Romero, John King, Matz. Those are all people that are under Cardinal control for next season. So my thought process here, and I know this is not an attractive thought process, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals' opening day roster next year, in terms of your non-bench players, because Pham won't be back probably. I would like him to be back, but Crawford's not going to be back. Carpenter's not going to be back. But in terms of the people that are going to play the preponderance of the games for you next year, I wouldn't be surprised if those guys are already in the organization.
I would happen to agree. I'm really interested in Quinn Matthews and seeing what I was watching him pitch either last night or the night before. He's good. He's got a chance to do something at the major league level. I truly believe that. The other part of this is that if you roll out the same, Mo is big on insanity, doing the same thing again. Yeah. And I don't think then if you don't make the playoffs, I don't know if you can roll back the same team. I just don't see that. And if you allow Lynn and Gibson to walk, there's 2/5 of your rotation that you have to fill. So would you fill it internally or try to do something like this where they go out, find veterans, and plug and play, so to speak, with those two guys?
I would be inclined to believe that they would bring one of those back. One of them has already been replaced with Fetty.
Yep.
And Palante, I think, has earned a spot. But
Matz is a real key here. Yeah, what do you do with him?
And by the way, the Cardinals, one of the reasons that they made the trade for Marcell Ozuna, let's just use him as an example, they needed to do that to pacify their fan base. When they traded for Goldschmidt, they needed to do that. I don't think they needed to do the Arenado trade, but over the years, the Cardinals, when they re-signed Matt Holliday, they needed to do that. They've made a lot of moves because they needed to pacify their fan base. It would not pacify their fan base to run it back with the same group. I'm just saying, when I look at the financial constraints that I believe are inherent right now and the group of players and pitchers that are in the organization, I wouldn't be surprised if out of the 26 players next year, I wouldn't be surprised if 22 of them were in the organization right now.
I think the big question is Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
That's the one I think that's at front and center of a lot of minds of fans out there, and I know he's had a very down year. But the organization, i.e. Adam Wainwright being a great example, brought him back for one more year. Now, what would you have to bring him back for? And you look this up, and it's a great point about how the Players Association has worked in a percentage of what you have to bring in from what that player made from the year before.
If you are going to re-sign a player, you can only give him a maximum 20% pay cut unless he goes into free agency. As an example, Brandon Woodruff last year made $10.8 million with the Brewers. It was hurt, didn't get a contract from somebody else. In free agency, came back for $2.5 million this year. You would have to allow Paul Goldschmidt to go into free agency if you wanted to give him more than a 20% pay cut. A 20% pay cut would give him roughly $21 million next year.
Would you pay for legacy?
Not $21 million.
No, me neither.
I would go $6, $7, $8 million.
So let him hit free agency with an idea that it's a handshake agreement. Hey, we're going to bring you back. And I think also you have to approach him and tell him your role is going to be a little bit different. If you're not producing, then you're going to have to sit a little bit more, and some of these young guys that are producing are going to have to play. That's not going to happen this year, but after the year is through, that's something you have to consider going forward.
By the way, the other thing you do with a $6, $7, or $8 million contract is load it up with incentives.
Absolutely.
So that he can get to $26, $27, $28 million.
Yeah, I do think he'll be back, though, and I know some fans don't want to hear that, but legacy is important for this franchise, and it's important for the DeWitts, and I think they'll pay for that.
I just think that right now we should steel ourselves for the eventuality that this is pretty much going to, what you see right now tonight against the Rays is basically what you're going to see on opening day next year.
Now, part of that, too, is the youth that you have.
Yeah, right.
And you want to see that continue to develop. So I think that's a legitimate point that needs to be made.
Take away the legacy factor. Just a vacuum baseball moves. Is it smarter to take the Goldschmidt money and spend it on pitching, considering right now you have, 2.5 rotation spots set for next year? Like, just in a vacuum, take away the legacy stuff. It's a better move to take that money and use it on pitching in the offseason, right?
Think about it from this perspective. Are the Cardinals going to give a pitcher more than $25 million a year, which is what Sonny Gray is getting? And even if you go 30 a year, what are you going to get? Are you going to get the guy that they need? Because you need a legit number one. Are you going to get Corbin Burns for $30 million a year next year?
Nope.
No.
It's simple. Simple answer. No.
I wouldn't want him for 30.
No.
But if we're talking about getting a guy for 2022 who's slots in as a high 2/low 3 alongside Gray, Fetty, and then him, at least gives you confidence that if you do win 85 games next year and you are a wild card team, you at least have a starting 3 that can win a playoff series.
Here's the other question. What do you do with Steven Matz?
He's a bullpen arm.
So that would take some of that money that you're talking about, allocating that towards your rotation. Sign a 4-year deal. I like him in the bullpen too, but you also have some decisions to make here if you don't bring back the 2 guys that Randy was talking about. I think Gibson comes back. He's not making a ton of money.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
He's giving you what you thought, if not even a little bit better. I don't think that Lynn would come back. A lot of people asking about Tommy Pham. I think it's recency bias right now. He's 36.
Right.
I'm not sure you'd bring him back, so that's something to keep in mind.
For the right price, I would bring him back for attitude, too. Because he does bring something to the table that this team didn't have that edge. I think there's a value to be placed on that.
And there's leadership that they talked about before the season, why you brought in Brandon Crawford, why you brought in Matt Carpenter. So if you lose those 2 guys, you do need an older guy to help with the younger players. I think there's value to that. So Tommy Pham would make some sense.
Let me just give you some names, by the way, Dan, and I agree with that. In terms of free agent pitchers. And let's set our number at $30 million, okay?
Total?
$30 million a year.
So for one guy or for 2 guys?
For one guy.
Okay.
So let's say that 6 and 30, 60, 90, 6 and 180, okay?
All right.
Is Corbin Burns taking that?
No.
Is do you have any interest at all in Walker Buehler, who hasn't pitched in 2 years?
Oh, a ton. Would I give him that kind of money? Probably not.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think Buehler will get more at a more attractive, maybe even from the Dodgers.
I was going to say he might stay there.
Yeah. Garrett Cole can opt out. Is he going anywhere for 6 years and 180?
No, sir.
Evaldi, do you have? I know we have interest in Evaldi. Are you going to pay the kind of money that
not at his age?
I don't think so either. And I think
he's 32.
Yeah, 35.
Oh, he's 35.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jack Flaherty?
No.
Max Fried?
No.
And I don't think Max Fried is a guy that I think he'll go for 6 and 180.
He might.
More.
Yep, he'd be in the conversation with that.
Lucas Giolito. No. I'm just trying to find a guy here that would fit the parameters of 6 and 180 that you would be that number 1 or number 2 guy. And I'm just Jordan Montgomery.
No,
I don't think so.
Of that group, I'd say Buehler.
Yeah. Robbie Ray.
No. You're running down a pretty good list, but I don't.
Yeah,
I would not want to dedicate that kind of money. Now that's of interest to me.
Yep.
Because he'd have a full spring training.
And he would opt out of a $30 million contract for next year if he did it. So you'd figure that he's going to make more than $30 million. Verlander's going to be 42. You just don't have. I don't see that number one guy at $30 million.
No, I don't either. I think your point, though, is valid. With the young core that they have, this may be the core that you have rolling it back next year. I think it's a valid question.
That's Dan. I'm Randy, and that's today's Fresh Take. Next up, the White Sox won last night, but what level of intrigue did you have in that losing streak?
A lot.
Me too. That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, my friends at Together Credit Union are such a great St. Louis organization. They're all about St. Louis, and you see their signage up at Ballpark Village. You see what they do over with St. Louis City SC. And right now, Together Credit Union just launched a brand new high-yield checking account called Empower Checking for you. And with Empower Checking, you can earn above-market interest on the money you keep in your day-to-day checking account. You're earning interest on your checking account. Interest is paid to you each month. It's a checking account that rewards you for balances and not activity. To apply for this Empower Checking account, all you need to do is visit togethercu.org or stop by any of their 14 local St. Louis branches and work directly with one of their amazing member advocates. They really do fantastic things at Together Credit Union, and that Empower Checking account is another great thing. Earn interest on your checking. Visit togethercu.org Empower for full terms and details. And don't forget, when you sign up, ask for that Together Credit Union St. Louis City SC debit card. Membership eligibility required. Together Credit Union, federally insured by the NCUA.
why he deserves a win after this streak.
This could do it. Out to left field, coming in. Benintendi, and the streak is over. After 21 L's in a row, the White Sox come to the West Coast and get their first win in a long time. Say it with me. Southside, stand up.
Stand up.
They've been sitting around for a long time on the South Side.
His voice cracked on it.
Oh, man.
It'd been a month since he had done it, and his voice cracked when he tried to get back into it.
So I was very much intrigued by the White Sox 21-game losing streak. And
you ain't the only one.
Yeah, well, and it's weird that we look at it in such a macabre way, because ordinarily, if the White Sox were 5 games under 500, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't watch them at all, certainly against Oakland late at night. But I had to go and see if they could lose their 22nd in a row. And I think that's one of the really interesting things about sports is that we kind of look for the car wreck that we can't turn away from.
This is it.
Yeah.
If you ever had one in baseball this season, it's this particular situation. Let me give you some numbers now. For fans that don't know, that's only their 28th win this year. 28. So they're 28 and 88. They are 35 and a half games out. Their run differential is minus 247, and that was only their 11th win on the road. So they've got 46 games to go. Randy, they've got 28 wins. I mean, do they get to 40 wins? And I think it's a legitimate question with the way that things have gone. Can they get to 40 wins?
How many games left do they have, did you say?
46.
So 23 and 23, no, they cannot.
I agree.
They aren't playing 500 ball.
I mean, you're going to finish with 30-plus wins on the year, if that.
Yeah,
that's inconceivable. That should not happen in Major League Baseball.
And nobody
it just shouldn't.
No, the old adage, and it should apply to every team, that you're going to win 60 and you're going to lose 60, right?
Yes.
And they are not. But they shouldn't have been as bad as they were. I mean, when you have Crochet and Fetty at the top of your lineup, and granted, there were a lot of things that they bailed on this year, but they shouldn't have been. No team should be this bad. And they have some decent people. Robert has missed a lot of time, but Andrew Vaughn is a decent player. Benintendi, we heard, caught the final out last night, has been a decent player. Tommy Pham was a decent player. They had some stuff. Now they gave away a lot of stuff during the offseason too. But I just wanted to see how bad it could get. I'm kind of disappointed by the end of the losing streak.
You wanted to see more?
Yeah.
I was looking at their minor league system. They have a couple of top players that they thought would develop, and all of a sudden they've hit a stunt in their growth. I mean, that's another problem that they have, is that a couple of their guys that they thought, okay, these could be mainstays in future seasons, all of a sudden they've hit a rut in the road, and that's a problem for them. And as we mentioned earlier, 10th is the highest they will pick in the upcoming draft next year.
Right. I was thinking about, because last year when Keenan Middleton, he was with the White Sox, then he went to the Yankees, signed by the Cardinals, obviously, and injured. But when he went over to the Yankees, he ripped the White Sox and said, there are no rules. People show up late. You've got relievers that are falling asleep out in the bullpen. You've got people that aren't trying hard, and there are never any repercussions. Pedro Grifol is their manager. And I'm thinking, okay, well, would a guy like Buck Showalter, is he desperate enough to take that job where they desperately need discipline? But I wonder what manager is going. Now, there are people that have never managed before that would take the job. But could you get an established guy like Buck Showalter in there to give them a little bit of credibility? I don't think you could.
He better call Jim Leyland. Jim Leyland went from Miami, and then he goes to Colorado and said it almost killed him. Seriously, he said, I was sleeping in my office. It was horrible, dealing with the high air, dealing with the fact that they had really no good players on their team. They had a couple, but generally speaking, it was a bad team. I don't know. I don't know if the appetite would be there for a Buck Showalter or for somebody that has a resume like that in Major League Baseball. I mean, I don't know, Randy. I mean, would you want to do that?
No, and that's why I think it's got to be a guy that hasn't had a major league job, that has won. Every organization has these guys, but Stubby Clapp has won a couple of championships, right? Stubby Clapp is a really good major league coach / I think he'd be a really good manager. But you need somebody that brings winning cachet,
Skip Schumacher, maybe?
He's going to be available.
Yeah.
That would be a really good move for them. Now, I don't know if Skip wants to go through this again.
That's my point.
And I don't know how much confidence Jerry Reinsdorf has engendered among the fraternity of managers either.
And if you came in as a manager, you'd have to have a guarantee from Jerry Reinsdorf that you've got to spend some money.
Yeah.
You got to get me some players. I mean, it doesn't have to be the best out there, but we can't be rolling out the same lineup every single night and go through a season where right now in August you have 28 wins.
Yeah.
I've got to have a guarantee that they're going to spend a little money to improve incrementally as you go along.
Because you aren't going to help out significantly through the draft, certainly not quickly.
No.
You're at ground zero here. The White Sox are, if ever there was a team where you just wipe it clean and go to the ground and start rebuilding. Chris Getz is a first-year general manager, but I'm talking in terms of your on-field, in-uniform staff. That would be the example of where you go to ground zero and start rebuilding.
Let's see. The 618 said they'd have to go 12-34 year, better than math and me, to win 40 games and not to have to win 23 like you guys said for the White Sox. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Let's talk about this. 12 or 13 wins. I don't see them getting that.
I don't either.
And let me ask you this. Is it bad for baseball to have it this bad in a major market like that?
Yeah, I think it is. They're irrelevant. They've been irrelevant for a long time. And they're talking about moving. They've talked about moving before, and they're talking about moving again. This is an historic franchise. Maybe their history isn't great. They were the Black Sox after all. But in that market, I believe that you need to have a strong American League presence still. And this is an embarrassment. It's got to be an embarrassment for Rob Manfred. You can't have that.
No. And it's been a franchise that has been run by an owner that at times has had success. And when Tony La Russa was brought in, I thought that would be a team, and that's not that long ago. No. I thought that was a team that would win.
They were in the playoffs and had a chance. They won the division in Tony's first year, and that was a pretty loaded team.
And then COVID hit.
Yep.
And, man, I felt for Tony La Russa doing Zooms at his age during COVID. That was kind of hard to watch, wasn't it?
That was unfortunate.
I mean, you just see that he was beat up, he was tired. But I don't see this having a chance to turn around very quickly unless you go out and spend hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's not a good thing for baseball.
No.
Although here we are talking about it in St. Louis, so I guess there is some interest to it.
Right. By the way, that team that Tony had in 2021 that won the division, their number one starter was Lance Lynn. They had Lucas Giolito. He went 11-9. Dylan Cease went 13-7. Keuchel was decent for them. Lance went 11-6 with a 2.69 in 28 starts. And then Carlos Rodon was also in that rotation. Their lineup on a regular basis, they had Grandal behind the plate. Abreu, who would win an MVP later, was their first baseman. Cesar Hernandez at second. A good Tim Anderson was at short. Yoan Moncada, who's out for this year, was at third for them. Then they had Andrew Vaughn in left, Robert in center, and Adam Eaton in right, plus Yermin Mercedes, the infamous Yermin Mercedes, was their shortstop. And they had a pretty good closer, too, in Liam Hendricks, who that year had 38 saves. This was 3 years ago, Dan. That's 2021. They won the division with that group.
And then now you have your number one saying, and I got to wonder about the future of this guy too, but Garrett Crochet saying, I don't want to pitch in postseason play this year.
Yeah.
Do you want that guy as your number one moving forward?
No, and if he doesn't want to pitch in October, maybe he's a perfect fit.
Right. That's probably right.
So anyway, it was a fun little thing while it lasted, and this will be an historic team because I don't think they get to 40 victories like the 62 Mets.
No, it'll be the worst team historically in the history of baseball.
Yep.
It'll be the worst record in the history of baseball.
Coming up, we've got the fight. If you'd like to participate, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Thank you, Matthew. And if you'd like to fight, just text into that line with your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird Report. After hitting a speed bump in the first inning, giving up a 2-run homer, Sonny Gray then delivered 6 scoreless innings while striking out 6. Victor Scott II got the scoring started for the Cardinals with his first Major League career home run, a 2-run blast to tie the game. Then Tommy Pham would add another 2-run blast of his own to help the Cardinals hold off the Rays for a 4-3 victory. Ryan Helsley earned his 35th save despite giving up a run in the 9th. Eric Fetty will make his home debut for the Cardinals tonight. First pitch is at 6:45.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Hey, it's Wednesday, so at some point today, I'm going to make my way over to Mentality over in Chesterfield. Mentality, guys, is a great St. Louis clinic that allows you to regain the energy you had in your younger days. After we pass our 30th birthday, our energy level drops because our testosterone level drops. At Mentality, they have an FDA-approved testosterone supplemental treatment that will restore your testosterone level to where it was when you were in your 20s. And if you are feeling fatigued, if you're feeling uptight this morning, maybe you just don't have the same outlook that you used to have, a lot of that can be attributed to low testosterone, and that's why you should get to Mentality. Go to lowtusa.com and find out what they do, and set up your first appointment at Mentality. They have clinics in Chesterfield and in South County, and their board-certified physicians are going to work with you. Their wonderful nurses are going to help you out. You'll go in once a week for your treatment, and you will become so much more energetic because of Mentality. They'll work with your insurance company to make sure that you have as little out-of-pocket expenses as possible with Mentality at lowtusa.com.
This is Rocky with your SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals yesterday get back into the win column with a 4-3 win over the Rays. And it was an early one where they took the lead with two two-run shots in the second inning. First from Tommy Pham and then Victor Scott II's first ever career Major League Baseball home run. Again, the Cardinals with a 4-3 win. They will be back in action today facing off against the Rays in Game 2. It's another 6:40 first pitch. It'll be Eric Fedde in his home debut for the St. Louis Cardinals in his second start. Fedde on the season is 7-5 with a 3.34 ERA. Coming up, by the way, a different Cardinals starter later on in the show at 9:30. Kyle Gibson joins Danny and Randy. That is your SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Undisputed king of morning drive, please welcome Randy Carricker.
8:41 in St. Louis, the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brooke is off to the Ascension Charity Classic breakfast. Randy is out of the studio. I'm Danny Mac, and we have Rocc in here as well to help conduct the fight. Our fighter today is Corey. Corey, welcome to the show.
Hey, Danny, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
All right.
Have you ever fought Randy in the gauntlet, the fight, whatever the case may be? Maybe you fought him on the street. I don't care. Have you ever fought Randy?
I've fought you.
Uh-oh. Oh. How did that go?
Oh, you handed it to me.
That wasn't on the street, I hope.
No.
Oh, okay. Was it in the gauntlet?
I was on the fast. I was on the gauntlet 3 weeks ago. I won twice.
Okay. Well, we got you back. Are you ready to go?
I guess so. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Here's question 1. Who is the last Cardinals shortstop to hit 100 runs batted in, to get 100 runs batted in a season? Was it Johnny Peralta, Paul DeYoung, or Edgar Renteria?
Johnny Peralta. Final answer.
All right. Following the wild card introduction in 1994, the Cardinals' first appearance as a wild card would be in the 2001 postseason. Who did they play in that first ever matchup as a wild card team? Was it the Braves, the Giants, or the Diamondbacks?
Braves. Final answer.
There are only 2 players in NBA history to both lead the league in scoring and win Defensive Player of the Year award in their career. One is Jordan, but which big man did that as well? Joel Embiid, Hakeem Olajuwon, or David Robinson?
Lead the league in scoring and Defensive Player of the Year.
You got it.
Ooh, can I have the options again?
Joel Embiid, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson.
Let's go with Hakeem.
Hakeem the Dream. Okay. Question 4 from Matthew.
Who is the only player to score 6 non-offensive touchdowns in an NFL season? He did it twice. Is that Cordero Patterson, Deion Sanders, or Devin Hester?
Give me the options one more time, please.
Cordero Patterson, Deion Sanders, or Devin Hester?
Was it the last one or the only one?
He is the only player to score 6 non-offensive touchdowns in an NFL season, and he did it twice in his career.
Okay, let's go with Devin Hester. Final answer.
All right, Devin Hester, final answer. Danny Mac was going to go retrieve Randy. How you feeling about your performance today, Corey?
I don't know. You sure know how to take a man's soul. As far as
you weren't hoping for hockey questions, were you?
No, Jamie handed it to me. That's how I lost in the gauntlet.
All right, well then we got a little baseball, got a lot of baseball, a little football, a little basketball. So we threw it all at you. So no hockey though. So you're welcome. I don't know why you're mad.
Good questions, man.
Appreciate that.
All right, Randall, say good morning to Corey.
Corey, good morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Randy?
Doing well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. We appreciate it.
Thanks for answering my Uncle Randy question this morning.
Oh, you got it. Which one was it?
The bar rat one. I was joking.
Oh, boy.
Good. Yeah. Okay, good.
Are you going to heed his advice or not?
No, I can manage my relationship pretty well.
All right, here we go with question 1, Randall.
Yes.
Who is the last Cardinals shortstop to hit 100 runs batted in a season? 100 RBI season by a Cardinals shortstop and the last to do it.
I don't know if Renteria ever got to 100. Templeton did not. Eckstein did not. Don Kessinger did not. I don't know if we have to go way back to old-timey days. I'll do the lifeline, Daniel.
Johnny Peralta, Paul DeYoung, Edgar Renteria.
Okay, well, maybe Edgar Renteria did. I don't think Paulie D got to 100. He had 30 homers, but I don't think he ever got to that. And there was a long stretch here where the Cardinals didn't have a 100 RBI guy, and Johnny Peralta was in that long stretch. So I'll go with Renteria.
Surprised you didn't go with Cesar Izturis.
Cesar's another one.
Okay.
Khalil Green. Oh, scratch
Khalil
that.
Green.
I mean,
stop it.
They called him the Riot for a reason. He was hitting the ball all over the place. Randy, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Following the wild card's introduction in 1994 in Major League Baseball, the Cardinals' first appearance as a wild card team would be in the 2001 postseason. Who did they play in that matchup?
In 2001, did the Cardinals beat the... I know they've beaten the Braves in multiple wild cards. 2001 was the year that they lost to Arizona in the first round. It was McGuire's last one, where he was pinch hit for by
Kerry Robinson.
Kerry Robinson. Yeah, Craig Counsell had a very good series in that one. 2001, I think it was the Bravos. Let's see. That's the only one that pops into my head here. So I will just go off the top of my head and go with Atlanta.
There are only two players in NBA history to both lead the league in scoring and win Defensive Player of the Year award in their career. One is Michael Jordan, but which big man did that as well?
I don't know if they had the DPOY when Wilt Chamberlain was playing. But that would seem the logical choice because he had a lot of blocks, and I know he led the league in scoring. I don't know if Kareem ever won a Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think Tim Duncan ever led the league in scoring. So I think I'll go with Wilt the Stilt and hope that they had the Defensive Player of the Year while he was playing.
All right, Randy. Who is the only player to score 6 non-offensive touchdowns in an NFL season? He did it twice in his career.
Well, the logical one here would be the new Hall of Famer Devin Hester, would it not? With his return ability. I'm just going to say that we're going to be prisoners of the moment here and go with the Hall of Famer Devin Hester.
All right. We have a winner in today's fight. By the skin of their teeth, does Corey walk away with a victory against Randy Carricker in the fight? Or does Megamind get away with a hump day victory today? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
I'm sorry, Corey. Randy Carricker just barely beat you. He beat you 2-1 in today's fight.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Thanks for joining us, Corey, and thank you very much for the earlier Ask Uncle Randy text. Let's go through the questions and answers. The last Cardinal shortstop to hit 100 RBI in his career and exactly on the nose in 2003 was Edgar Renteria. It's been a lot of shortstops since then, and I think the only one that's touched even 90 might have been Johnny Peralta or Paul DeYoung one year. It's not a lot of close ones either. Renteria, by the way, that year he finished top 15 in MVP voting and got the Gold Glove and the Silver Slugger in addition to being an All-Star. For him, following the wild card introduction in 1994, the Cardinals' first appearance as the wild card would be in the 2001 postseason when they would fall to the Diamondbacks in round 1. They would lose in Game 5 on a Tony Womack shot against Steve Klein in the bottom of the 9th in Game 5. And there are only two players in NBA history to both lead the league in scoring and win a Defensive Player of the Year award in the career. They did not give out the Defensive Player of the Year award when Wilt Chamberlain was in the league. It was actually the incredible 70-point scoring night of David Robinson on the last day of the season to win his first ever scoring title. That makes him the second ever player to do that alongside Michael Jordan. David Robinson, who had his birthday yesterday, by the way. It's Edgar Renteria's birthday, by the way. And the only player to score 6 non-offensive touchdowns in an NFL season. I actually did not stumble upon this question because he went into the Hall of Fame. I simply just stumbled upon this question, and he is the answer. The only person to ever score 6 non-offensive touchdowns in an NFL season, and he did 2 different times, is in fact Devin Hester, the newly named Hall of Famer. So a 2-1 win for Randy Carricker in the fight today. Great job, Corey. Thank you again for joining the fight and joining the show.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Corey. Good to have you with us. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, would you rather be a fan of a franchise like the Rays or a franchise like the Cardinals? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's always fun to bring you news from Schnucks, and I've got some exciting news for you. You know, I'm always talking about how great the Schnucks Rewards program is with the Schnucks Rewards app, and now it's even better because they just released new perks to make it more personalized for you. They have personal double points days, and that makes earning rewards points easier and faster, and you get more. Just keep an eye on the Rewards app for your personal double points day coupon. Once you clip it, you can use it to get double the points on your entire purchase. So instead of your usual 2% back, you're getting 4% back in Schnucks Rewards to use on a future purchase. And when you have that coupon, that means that for every $1 you spend, you're getting 4 cents back rather than 2. You get to choose when you use the coupon. You can apply it the next time you do a stock up and shop, so you really get more bang for your buck. It's an in-app coupon, so be sure to download the Schnucks Rewards app and check your digital coupons every day. That's where you'll find this coupon when it periodically pops up when you go to the Schnucks Rewards app. Download the Schnucks Rewards app today and look out for these personal double points days. to winning as we watch this series between the Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays have made the playoffs in each of the last 5 years, including 2 AL East championships and 1 pennant in the COVID year. Overall in MLB, in the last 5 years, in the overall standings, the Rays have finished 7th, and then 2nd overall, then 3rd overall, then 12th, and then 4th. Their payrolls, Dan, have been 30th, 27th, 26th, 26th, and 27th. The Cardinals, meanwhile, have made the playoffs in 4 of the last 5 seasons, including 2 NL Central championships, and overall they have finished 10th, 12th, 10th, 6th, and last year 25th. The Cardinal payrolls have been 6th, 6th, 10th, 12th, and 16th, of course, last year when they sold at the deadline. So the Cardinals have stars. They make the playoffs. The Rays don't have stars, and they make the playoffs. Now, the Rays have gone farther. They have been in a World Series in the last 5 years. But with the way things are right now, would you rather have the Cardinals approach where they're willing to spend and they keep their stars, or the Rays approach where generally, and by the way, they did sign Wander Franco, and that didn't work out well for them. But generally, if a player is about to become a star for Tampa Bay, they get rid of him and replenish from within.
That's what they've done this year. And I think if you're a Rays fan, that's frustrating when they get rid of a Rosarena, you get rid of Armstrong, got rid of some other players, and just say we're going to, reboot and then turn it right back and run it back. As a fan, Randy, I want to be invested in some of the players on the field. And if that means going to watch Arenado in his prime or Goldie in his prime or now watching Mason Winn, I like watching Burleson when he's at the plate. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm invested in the team as a fan. And I think ownership is invested in their players, and I think that's a good thing. So I like to go to the ballpark. I like to see stars. I think that's a good way to go about it, and I feel like ownership is going to pay. I think that they're going to pay for good players, and I want to see them stick around. That's just me as a fan, and that's of other teams, too. I want to see their players stick around with those particular teams.
I put it in these very simplistic terms. In this 5-year period that we're talking about, where the Rays have been very good, who would I buy a jersey for?
Maybe Randy A?
Yeah, right, and he just got traded.
Yep.
So if you're a Cardinal in the last 5 years, you buy an Arenado, you buy a Yachty, you buy a Wainwright, you buy a Goldie. Those guys are going to be around, and you can pretty much count on them. You can't count on everybody sticking around, but the big stars seem to stick around. If the Cardinals were bad, I would feel differently about this, and they are epically mediocre this year. But they aren't bad. They have an opportunity, as we mentioned. Their overall finishes this is overall in Major League Baseball. They finished 10th, 12th, 10th, and then the 6th best record a couple of years ago, and then 25th last year. So I think there is something to be said for the way the Cardinals do it, and I'm with you. I am a fan of being a star. I understand that there are people that don't care about the people. They're all about the laundry, and they look at the way Tampa Bay has gone about business, and they just don't care who's playing. You might as well have robots on the field. I can understand that, but I'm like you. I would rather have the stars.
I go back to what the Cardinals have had since, what is it, Randy? The 1920s. They've had a Hall of Famer in their lineup all the way through. 1909 until now.
Yeah.
A Hall of Famer. I mean, you could debate whether Arenado's a Hall of Famer or Goldie, and I think both will probably get in. I truly believe that. It brings you to the ballpark, even on bad teams. And Ozzie was on some bad teams. I went to the ballpark to specifically go watch him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wasn't going to go watch Randy A. I wasn't going to go watch Wander Franco. I wasn't going to go watch Evan Longoria, but I would go watch Ozzie Smith play, and I'd go early to the ballpark just to watch him take infield because I was enthralled with the kind of player that he was. So I think that that's important, and somebody says on the 408, my name goes on my team's jerseys. So that's kind of interesting, too. I just think it's something that when you look at, it's a copycat league in all these sports. It hasn't worked out with other organizations. They've tried to do this or a semblance of what the Rays have done. The Rays have it down, though. They're pretty good at how they do this. I just think that you have a short window, and then all of a sudden you gotta recoup and replenish your farm system, and you get rid of players that probably you feel uncomfortable getting rid of because they're not going to sign them, and they feel that's the only way they can compete in the AL East. They're not going to outspend the Yankees, not outspend Boston. Baltimore with new ownership is spending money. Mm-hmm. So this might be the only way that they feel they can compete.
And I would think that if you are a Rays fan, at some point you have to worry about Eric Neander leaving. They already lost Andrew Friedman. They already lost Chaim Bloom. They've had several other people that have been in that organization that have been very effective personnel people that have left, but they've kept a couple of people around. Eric Neander has been there for a long time. He's their POBO. And there's a guy, and we both know Bob Eibach, former PR guy for the Cubs, and his son Kevin is their director of pro personnel. He was kind of behind the Randy Arozarena trade, and he is in charge of their pro scouting. And a couple of years ago when they made the playoffs, I think when they had the second best record in baseball, I think 18 of their 25 had come from outside the organization. Right. They had made deals, and they had really done a great job of scouting other teams' organizations. And I think Kevin has a lot to do with that. And their scouts, for a team that's as analytically as inclined as they are, they have a lot of really good scouts in their organization.
Now, if you won a World Series, you'd say, yeah, maybe I'd tend to lean towards the way that Tampa Bay has done this. It's interesting how they do it, and you just laid out the facts. But still, as a fan, I go to the ballpark to watch what I hope is good baseball. And if you're a fan of the Cardinals, you sit there and go, I hope that they win. But at the end of the day, I'm still going to watch individuals. I really am.
And it's interesting to see the different ideas we have about this. This text from the 314. The Rays are not going to do anything this year. Their genius has gone stale, and they missed their World Series opportunity. At least let me connect with some stars. And then there was another one that said I never put my name on a jersey. I just go to watch the team play.
Yeah. I go to watch baseball, period. That's how I do it. And if I see a well-played game, I like that, Randy, as a fan. I love going to the ballpark and seeing just a well-played baseball game, a crisp, sharp game. And that's why these guys are major leaguers, because they don't make a ton of mistakes. But I still keep my eye on a particular player. And in this case, it's Mason Winn. I love watching this kid play defense, and if he adds anything offensively, which he has, I look at it as a bonus. Like I said, I love watching Burleson hit, but I still have hope every time that Arenado and Goldie comes up.
I do too.
You know, and they're superstars. They have been superstars. Not necessarily this year, but they have been in their careers. And even guys that are at the tail end of their careers, I still love watching them play. I feel as a fan I'm invested in those guys' play because I've seen them play a bunch over the time in their careers.
Yeah, and maybe we've got another guy like that on the horizon. Somebody texts in this from the 217. I go to the ballpark to watch Mason Winn. Lock him up. Yeah, so... and not like Wander Franco was. Just that means get him under contract.
Right. What do you think the appetite that he has and the Cardinals have to get him locked up and buy out some of those free agency years? I would imagine it'd be pretty high after this year.
I would think so. And the price, I would think, would be reasonably high, but it's not going to go down. And you look at what Bobby Witt Jr. got after one good year. Now, I think that Mason's probably in the power department a notch below Bobby Witt Jr., but Mason Winn's a really good player, so I think you have some parameters there at least to start talking about a contract.
636, I think this is a great point. Baseball is an individual team sport, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. When I was working with Tim McCarver, he said, really, it's mano y mano. He said you got 9 guys on the field, but really it's you catching the ball, you making a play on a ground ball, the pitcher against the batter. It's not like you're passing the ball around in other sports. I never thought of it that way, and that's why I like seeing the individual doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and there is a lot to be said for stars. Hey, there's a reason that the Giants, who are a smart organization, they went after Harper, they went after Judge, they signed Correa before he failed the physical. Finally, this year, they go out and get the center fielder from Korea, and that didn't work out for them. But the Giants season ticket holders, after Posey left, said, we want to see stars.
Yeah.
And that's why they're trying to spend so much money on getting one.
Now, the argument can be made that people say, I just want to see winning baseball. I get that. But, man, was it fun to go to the ballpark and watch Jim Edmonds and watch Scott Rowland and watch Big Mac and watch some of these great players that you had. Larry Walker coming to St. Louis. I even threw in Reggie Sanders. I loved watching him play. So those were individuals that a reason why I went to the ballpark.
And the timing wasn't good for Ozzie in the 90s. But generally, if you collect good players, you're going to win.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea, isn't it?
Yeah, get stars. That 04 team, we're celebrating 20 years. Walker, Albert, Yachty, Rowland, and by all accounts, Edmonds. You should have had Edmund should be in the Hall of Fame. We both agree on that, right?
Agreed, yeah.
5 of your starting 8 should have been or are Hall of Famers. 4 of them are, and a 5th should have been.
Let's just say that the Cardinals were bad during the Albert years, which they weren't. I still would have gone to the ballpark, and probably season ticket holders would say, I would have gone to the ballpark just to watch this guy play.
Well, I did. I think a lot of us did. Just to see him play. So it's an interesting contrast between these two teams that are playing this 3-game series right now. That's Dan. I'm Randy. Matthew is here. And coming up here on 101 ESPN, we've got the Rush Hour Reset. When I talk to you about a business, I know that business, and I know that that business is local. I'm all about local, and that's one of the great things about Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They're locally owned and operated, have been for 56 years under the same ownership since 1968, and it's a company you can trust. They have an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. They've won multiple awards. Everything they do from a work standpoint is guaranteed for at least 5 years, and you also have numerous material guarantees as well. So whether you need a fence or a deck, maybe a sunroom or a screen room to upgrade your home, a pergola, a patio, whatever you're looking for an outdoor project, call Chesterfield Fence at 800-300-4054 to get a bid, or just go on the web and see what they do at chesterfieldfence.com. I've worked with Chesterfield Fence. I got my fence from them, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, they're wonderful people who do exactly what you want them to do in terms of the quality of work that they'll provide for you. I love them. You'll love them too. Chesterfield Fence and Deck on the web at chesterfieldfence.com. Call 800-300-4054. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign you have the very best. night for Sonny Gray last night at the ballpark as the Cardinals knocked off the Rays 4-3. Gray with 7 innings. He allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs, both in the first inning. He walked 1 and struck out 6, threw 106 pitches and filled up the strike zone. 70 of them were for strikes. And the Cardinals got a couple of 2-run homers, including Victor Scott II's first Major League home run. Tommy Pham also had a 2-run blast, and the Cardinals win it by a score of 4-3.
How about the injection of, I don't know, what would you say, energy from Tommy Pham?
No doubt. He provides energy.
And Sonny Gray yesterday, I thought initially, and we talked about this earlier, is it release point, is it mechanics, something not quite right? It looked sluggish to me early on in the game, but found a way to get back on track, and that's what you're hoping for. And we talked about this as well, Randy, kind of the eye test for Sonny Gray, allowing him to go 7 innings. You know, earlier in the season, you weren't seeing that. You were seeing him lifted after 6, maybe even 5, and turning it over to a bullpen that was very effective in the first half of the season. But they went to Kittredge, Helsley. Helsley was bending but didn't break. And I wonder if some teams have something on him right now because he's getting hit harder than he has the entire season, and his stuff looks the same to me.
That's the thing. He's still throwing 101.
Yeah.
And he's still throwing the same slider. So, yeah, I wonder if that's part of the process here, if teams maybe have found something that he is tipping.
Victor Scott gets the home run. That was a nice moment at the ballpark. And I felt like this was a game, and I hate saying must-win games or must-win series until you get later in the season. And here we are in August. Games are important. And you look at the Mets game the other day, 6-0 was the loss. You looked at the Cubs series. They dropped 3 of 4, kind of a lackluster series for them. And at the beginning of the game last night, it seemed lackluster too. Now, they weren't hitting initially and, you know, finally got 8 hits in the game. And I think when you don't hit like they didn't at the end of the Cubs series, didn't hit against the Mets, you look lethargic. And to come out last night and pick up the win, I just thought it was one of the more important wins that they've had this year.
And the Cardinals will try to make it 2 in a row tonight as Eric Fetty makes his home debut for the Cardinals. He'll be opposed by Taj Bradley. Fetty got knocked around a little bit in Chicago on Friday, and hopefully he'll be back to the form that he's displayed all season long tonight.
Ground balls, more ground balls, maybe a few more ground balls after that. And if he's doing that, then you know he's right. And I kind of throw out that first start with a new team because you put a lot of pressure on yourself for a team that trades for you, and you're expected to be an important piece down the stretch. So now he's got that one out of the way and needs to show up here tonight.
And the Cardinals, they just need to put their head down and win, because while the standings are tight for the National League wild card, nobody is losing. When you look at the other teams last night that played, and everybody did. But when you look at who the Cardinals are competing against, San Diego wins, and they're playing the Pirates, so they're both in it. But the Padres win 6-0. They take over the National League wild card lead, by the way. The Braves are collapsing a little bit. Giants lost to the Nationals, but you had the Brewers shutting out the Braves 10-0. Atlanta's really struggling.
They are, yeah. And so is the Phillies. The Phillies are really struggling right now, too.
Yeah, and then the Mets fell to the Rockies by a score of 6-3. But for the most part, when you go through a night like this, Diamondbacks got rained out last night. When you go through a night like this, you're going to see those teams, Padres, Mets, Pirates, coming away with victories. So the Cardinals need to come away with victories. That was a good one last night.
I think the other thing, too, is I'm kind of throwing out the wild card for the Cardinals because there's so many teams that you just mentioned they'd have to leapfrog, or teams that would have to go under 500 maybe the rest of the way for you to compete. And so I'm looking at the division. I don't know if other people agree with that, but I've been saying it for a while. It's so jumbled in that mess. And a good thing for baseball, in my opinion, as we talked about earlier, to have this many teams in the wild card. But when you look at the division, you still have 7 games left with Milwaukee. The problem for the Cardinals is that the schedule is very tough. It's really tough. 3rd hardest schedule left in Major League Baseball in terms of looking at winning percentage. So not an easy road, but hey, if you're going to be a playoff team, you should be able to beat some of these teams and win some series.
Aside from a series against the Reds, 24 out of 27 games for the Cardinals against teams that as of August 7th would be in the playoffs.
Absolutely. So head-to-head with Milwaukee, take care of business, but you're going to have to win some of these series, Randy, and I think it starts with Tampa Bay. This is a team that sold off some parts, as we just talked about in our last segment. So you got to take 2 out of 3, if not sweep these kind of series. And then play. I'm a big proponent of just playing better at home. They have not been great at Busch Stadium. They need to get to 5 or 10 above that point and then play 500 on the road. We talk about that a lot. And if you do that, you'll be in the hunt.
I would hate to get to the end of the season, especially because of the schedule coming up, and look back at losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox in May.
And then Colorado.
Colorado, you split 4 here. That wasn't good. And then you lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins at Miami as well. There were some walkover games, should have been walkover games for the Cardinals, walkover series that they didn't take advantage of.
The White Sox one stands out to me.
You cannot lose 2 out of 3 to the White Sox.
Especially not at home.
No.
Now, you did see Garrett Crochet in one of those games, and he was... I remember watching him, and not many people were talking about Garrett Crochet, and I'm sitting there watching him, and I'm saying... Man, this guy's a stud. Not many people knew about him at that time, or at least the casual fan, and I'm watching and going, go get this guy. And if I'm looking at it that way, baseball people are looking at it that way. They know a lot more than me. Man, he was tough, but outside of that, you got to take 2 out of 3 or win and sweep it home against the White Sox. That's going to be one that stands out.
Yeah, I would think that those against the bottom teams, Rockies, White Sox, A's, they did get 2 out of 3. Marlins, yeah, those are the ones that'll come back to haunt you. That's Dan. I'm Randy, and that's today's Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Next up, The Athletic did a piece on fans' confidence in the Blues front office. How's our confidence right now? That's next on 101 ESPN. A couple of months ago when I needed a new vehicle, I went to autoloanpro.com, and I advise you to do that as well. They make the auto loan process so simple, and they're going to take you through the entire process. As a matter of fact, if you go to autoloanpro.com and just download their playbook, it'll tell you exactly what you need to do to get an auto loan. And if you don't have money for a down payment, they're going to work their butt off to make sure that you get the best rate possible. As a matter of fact, they told me, hey, if you can make a payment, we'll get you a loan. And I was very happy with the loan I got from Auto Loan Pro. They work with over 50 different lenders to help you get the very best financing. And that's what they did for me. They asked me what I'd like my interest rate to be, what I'd like my payment to be, how long I would like the loan to be, and then they got the best loan possible for me. And you can also click down and find a vehicle at autoloanpro.com. And I did that too. I got my car from autoloanpro.com. And if you're in the market for a vehicle, you should do the same thing. If you're financing a car, there's one thing to know. Choose the Auto Loan Pro, autoloanpro.com. The Athletic has done their annual survey of fans for their confidence in their NHL front offices. And as you might guess, Dan, take a guess at what front office has engendered the most confidence from their fan base following the 2023-2024 season.
Oh, I'd say the Panthers.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, they went out and traded for Matthew Tkachuk. They win a Stanley Cup. They signed Bobrovsky. They've hired Paul Maurice. They did everything right, so they're number one. Your St. Louis Blues, among fans, are, interestingly, with the level of confidence that I believe they should have in this front office, 23rd.
Really?
Yeah.
What about a guy that brought you the cup?
Right, and has made great trades and has had the ability over the years to identify good young players and get them to the NHL level and have them become stars. People like Schwartz and Tarasenko and Binnington. The Blues have done that. Right now, the Blues fan base is giving the Blues a C in terms of roster building. They aren't happy with the way the roster. And by the way, the Blues have missed the playoffs now a couple of years in a row, so that makes a difference. A C- in cap management, which is fair. I think when we look at where the Blues have been boxed in, a lot of it has been because of the salary cap.
Defensively, for sure. Yeah. I think this is all recency bias, and I also think it's a frustration from a segment of the fan base of looking at the Petro situation and then the residual effect of some bad contracts defensively, namely Torrey Krug.
Yeah.
He's been kind of the whipping boy here in St. Louis, and when you have those situations and you're backed into a corner, like you mentioned, that's a problem. And that's where I think a lot of fans go with this particular survey.
The fans give the Blues a B for drafting and developing, a B- for trades, a C for free agency, which I think is, again, reasonable, a C+ for vision. And I like the vision of this team. I think they're doing things the right way.
Development with some of the players. How are you not happy with Jake Neighbors and his development?
Robert Thomas.
And then spending money on Binnington. I mean, he was the sole reason, in my opinion, as to why they even had a shot at the playoffs and hung around to make it interesting. And you made sure and kept him long term. So I think the vision, though, of this team, that's kind of where I'm at, Randy, this year, is I'm excited to see the young players. I'm excited to see how they fit in. And there's some young players that are going to get a chance. Dvorsky, Snuggerud at some point, you would think, at the end of the year. These are guys I'm excited to watch play.
And maybe people are reacting to the fact that the Blues did win the Stanley Cup 5 years ago this summer. Ottawa's fan base gives them the number 22 ranking ahead of the Blues. And the Senators haven't done anything. The Red Wings haven't done anything for years, and they're ranked number 21. The Flyers have been abysmal for years, and they're ranked number 20. As a matter of fact, the Blues, as much as the Kevin Hayes trade was bad, and it was not good for the Blues, but they gave up a 6th-rounder for a lottery pick, and then they wind up trading him.
What would you think? Where are the Sabre? Give me the Sabre.
Sabres have to be below the Blues, don't they?
They have to be.
Let's see. Minnesota is number 24. Edmonton, 25. They were just in the finals.
Right.
Buffalo's 26.
Okay. Recency bias, I think, is part of what is part of this survey that we're talking about right now. It's got to be recency bias. Because if you're coming off a Stanley Cup or you're 2 years removed from a Stanley Cup, this front office and Doug Armstrong would be looked at as in the top 5.
Right.
For sure.
The Islanders are number 32. They're last. The Kings are 31, and the Leafs are number 30. And, usually spending a lot of money and getting flashy players makes you more popular, but at the end of the day, you have to win, too. Panthers, number 1. Dallas Stars are number 2. They get an A from their fans. Number 3, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who did a great job in going to the finals 3 times, but have fallen off a little bit, but the fans still have confidence in them. The Utah Hockey Club, this is recency bias, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because they're ranked number 4 by their fan base. And then Vancouver, the Canucks, are number 5.
This is interesting. The 314 says, do we look at the Blues kind of that old school Cardinals look and how they make the playoffs and that there's a competition between the two? I think if you're a fan, and hopefully you're following me here, and I think I got the texter's idea, but if you're a fan of the Cardinals, for the most part, they're competitive, with the exception of last year, as we talked about earlier, and Randy, you gave some great numbers as to them getting into postseason play. they're kind of going down different roads right now, where the Cardinals have not sacrificed some of the veterans, and the Blues, for the most part, are saying we are rebuilding with a younger team, a younger core. And how long does the fan base have? What is the appetite for the Blues fan to say, I'm willing to deal with this, but for how long? And the Cup is still, in my mind, is still front and center. I give them a chance to rebuild in the way that they're looking at it. I'm curious to see how Alex Steen fits into things here moving up, but I do think it's kind of an interesting comparison between the two and how the organizations are going about this.
And when you look at the Cardinals, they are the 5th oldest team in baseball, but they don't have any key players on their roster between the ages of 28 and 32. The prime years for a baseball player are 28 to 32, right?
Exactly.
And the Cardinals don't have any of those guys.
No.
But they have a lot of old and a lot of young. So that makes them the 3rd oldest. By the way, you'll take being old. Atlanta's the oldest team in the league. Mets are number 2. Dodgers are 3. Rangers are 4. So you'll take being old in baseball.
So who's the guy that you would go to the rink of the Blues and go watch? I mean, the Blues were the perfect example for so many years of what we were talking about earlier with you go to the ballpark to watch one guy play. For me, it was Brett Hall, or it was a Brendan Shanahan, or a Keith Kachuk, or a Pronger, or McInnes. Do they have a guy that you would pay right now to go watch play? I do have one, and it's Binnington. I love when he's right and when he's on, and he's one of the hottest goaltenders in the league. I think it's fascinating to watch him play. He'd be my guy.
He's great. And I think Robert Thomas has become
That's another one.
A game-changing type player. His passing ability is off the charts.
Absolutely.
And he continues to get better and better. By the way, we talked about the Blues, or the Cardinals being the 4th oldest team in the league. And then you talk about approach. Blues are right in the middle of the pack. They are 14th in the 32-team NHL with an average age of 28.8.
So, and they're going to get younger.
Yeah.
You know, some of these defensemen are going to move on, and they're going to need to do that, Randy. I mean, they're going to need to get younger in the back end, and they do have some guys that I think will be an influx of passion, fun to watch, and youth. And when you have youth in a lineup as a fan, that I get excited. Even if they lose some games, I know that these players are developing, and I look a little bit down the road.
That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, Cardinal right-hander Kyle Gibson. Big league impact. Yeah, always good to talk to Gibby. He's next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals yesterday come out with a win over the Tampa Bay Rays to start their series 4-3. Sonny Gray in his start, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and 1 home run allowed. He went 106 pitches in the game. Tonight, the Cardinals are back in action, 6:45. First pitch against those Rays. Taj Bradley, the righty, gets the start for Tampa Bay. He is 6-5 on the season with a 2.71 ERA, and he faces off against the righty for the Cardinals, Eric Fetty, making his Busch Stadium debut. Also yesterday in the Olympics, it was United States men's national team in the basketball event, and it was a 122-87 win for them over Brazil as they continue to move on in the knockout rounds. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Cards and Tampa Bay Rays tonight at the ballpark, a 7:15 start. And as Matthew Rocchio just told you, the Cardinals will try to continue the winning streak against Tampa and see if they can just get back to winning consistently. Redbird sending Eric Fetty to the mound against Taj Bradley. And then tomorrow night, Kyle Gibson is going to join us in just a moment. Will be on the mound for the Redbirds.
Does he know he's supposed to join us?
He did join us. He texted last night and said,
"Oh, good,
I'm in." Yeah, so he'll be there. And we're going to talk a little bit about this tomorrow. If you squint real hard, how can you have the Cardinals winning the wild card? The one thing that I still think the Cardinals have ability with, Dan, is their starting pitching. Gray, Fetty, Gibson, Palante, Michaelis. I think that with that group, you could have a stretch of 3 or 4 times through the rotation where the vast majority of the time that you do have a game that they'll perform at a high level. I think if the Cardinals were to make that run where you play 20 games and you win 15 of them, I think it'd be primarily because of starting pitching.
And the run got them back in this race. There's no doubt about it. And the other part of this, too, it started last night. In my mind, Randy, if you're going to start making this push, had to start against Tampa Bay, and it had to start with Sonny Gray on the mound. Now, there's 2 ways to look at having these veterans. Is one, do they wear down the stretch because of their age? And I could understand that. But the other thing is I look at it, is that this is a group that's been there, done that. And so they understand the magnitude of the games is heightened. And that's another way to look at it, too, is that these guys would be ready to go. And, again, the magnitude of the games would be heightened, and it's something that's very important.
Do you look at the body of work by Oli Marmol this year and think that he's preserved these pitchers? That's the way I look at it with Gibson, Gray, maybe not Michaelis as much, but and Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn's a guy that prefers, I think, to give you a lot of pitches, and he hasn't. I think Ollie's done a really good job of preserving these guys for August and September.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that's what we saw to Sonny Gray in the beginning of the season, is that you preserved him at times. Mm-hmm. You know, Kyle Gibson at times has been outstanding for this team. They needed him. He's shown up in a big way. Lynn is a guy that he's your old crusty nail. He's going to find a way. So I do think that he's conserved that. And the other part of this is that he went to his bullpen at proper times. I think the way that he used the bullpen was outstanding to get yourself in a position to talk about postseason play.
Kyle Gibson joins us now here on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, guys. Sorry I'm a couple minutes late. Apologize.
No worries at all. Good to have you with us. We were just talking about how with pitch counts, and I don't know how you look at pitch counts as opposed to innings, Kyle, but I feel like you and we've mentioned this well-seasoned rotation in the past. It seems like the Cardinals, Oli Marmol, has been trying to kind of preserve you guys for the last couple of months of the season to make sure that you still have gas left in the tank. Do you feel that way?
I don't know. I think he's picking his times to do that, but I don't necessarily think it's been intentional, saying that, you know, he thinks he's going to wear us down if he lets us get to 100 most of the time. I think it's just been a lot of chances where, you know, it's been just that time of the game that's the right time to move on. You know, we got a great bullpen, so I think, you know, he's told told us that many times. We're like, hey, we've got a good bullpen. We're set up to do this. We're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to get these guys in the game. So there's a lot to it, but I think those are some of the factors that have played into it, I would say.
I was saying earlier that I'd pay money to go watch Mason Winn play defense. He's that good for me. You have a front row seat to watch this night in and night out. What's it like having Mason Winn behind you and just having that front row seat to see what he's doing?
Yeah, Mason's been incredible. He's just been every day super consistent. I think that's one thing as a young guy that's not easy to figure out is, how can I be, the same player, 100 and you're not going to be every day, but 155 out of the 162 days. How can I be that same player? And, man, he's been really good at it. And it's been fun seeing how, he doesn't really let his offense, if he is in an offensive struggle, which he hadn't had very many, if he is in an offensive struggle, he's out there making plays and affecting the game. And, that's what big-time shortstops do. Big-time shortstops have a way of really impacting a lot of the games that they play in. And it's something that he's done a lot this year.
Kyle, we did not get a chance to talk to you last week on the heels of the trade deadline. What did that do for your clubhouse when Pham and Fetty and Armstrong all arrived?
Yeah, I think as a team, we were, obviously hoping, and I think, Mo in the front office had plans to do the right moves the whole time. And, I think it did a lot, just because I think mostly personalities too, right? Armstrong has some familiarity in the bullpen with Kittredge, and, Fetty, I think, just has he's been around and has been in a similar situation that Lance was there in Chicago. Similar players, not the exact same, but similar players, and been overseas and stuff. So I think just some of the familiarity was great. Tommy has been, he's such a competitor, such a fiery attitude, fiery mentality. So, he's been awesome to have around just because of his, competitive side of him that just, comes out and he's a gamer. I think that's shown up already how much of a gamer he is.
Now, how much did you know about Tommy Edman prior to the deal, and what's it been like to watch him now, even behind the scenes?
Tommy Pham.
Yeah. Excuse me, Tommy Pham. Too many Tommies there, Kyle. Sorry about that.
A lot of Tommies. No, you're good. There's obviously I've faced him quite a few times, I feel like, and he's never been an easy at bat. I know that because, you got to make sure, not only have you done your homework on the pitches that I thought would get him out, but he's somebody that when you don't execute, you feel like there's damage possibly on the way. So, that's not always a fun at bat to go through, is knowing that if I don't get this slider down, it's a double coming or something like that. So, and you can just see how hard he plays the game, and you're not going to get a free at bat, whether you're up big or in the middle of the game, whatever it might be.
Kyle, do you and your cohorts in the starting rotation kind of put a stretch run that can get you into the playoffs? Do you put it on your own shoulders?
No, I don't think so. I think a stretch run or getting hot and having a 10-game stretch that changes the whole picture. I think that's all team stuff. That's all. You can't. I said this the other day. If after 50 games in the beginning of the season, we were going to be cool, calm, and not panic and not forget it's a long season. We can't do it with 50 games left. It's the same amount of games, and you still got to play, almost a third of the season. So, no, I don't think you can put it on one part of the team, because I don't think that's a realistic thing. This is such a team sport, and one player, really can't, impact the game on a whole like that. So, I think it's, I think it's got to be something where, the whole team kind of gets going, and the whole team kind of says, we're going to make sure that every day we're showing up and we're going about the little things and doing all the little things right so we can make this happen.
How closely, Kyle, when you're on the bench and in the dugout and some of the other pitchers are hanging around, how closely do you guys watch to make sure that your teammate is not tipping pitches or giving away something? And how often do you guys pick those kind of things up?
I mean, I watch for it, as much as I can, really. When I'm not pitching, those first few innings, I'm kind of hawking the other guy, quite honestly, just to kind of see what there might be. And then, if it's sometimes if we feel like we might be giving something up, we'll ask the other guys to take a look at it. But then, I mean, I think if you're watching the game, a lot of the tipping things, not all of them, but there's quite a few of them that would stand out pretty good, and be able to be realized just by taking a little bit of look at video. But what normally puts my antenna ears up is if we got a pitcher out there who's executed 9 or 10 straight pitches, and they've either taken them or put some good swings on them or done something a little funky. That normally doesn't happen to the guy. That's kind of when my radar goes up, and I normally go take a look at something and see if there's something out there.
Hey, Kyle, on Sunday night, Tommy Pham was ESPN's in-game interview, and they had him breaking down fantasy football, asking what he would take if he had the first pick, whether he'd go in the first round with a receiver or a running back. And I know that you guys will have your own fantasy football league inside the clubhouse, but we have Big League Impact's fantasy football coming up on September 6th. Man, we're less than a month away from the start of fantasy football, and September 6th, we've got the Big League Impact event over at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we're less than a month away from the start of football season, quite honestly. Sometimes the summer drags on and sometimes it kind of creeps up on you. But, we're excited. I'm excited to be a part of the St. Louis the St. Louis fantasy football event for the first time. And I know it's something that's been pretty special to this community for a long time. So, with Lars coming, I think he's obviously a fan favorite. He's going to be a lot of fun to be around and hang out with the day. And then Mr. Wainwright himself is coming back because he can't miss, his signature event that he started. So, I'm excited to have Winnow come back and to be a big part of it too. And just like every, Big League Impact charity event, it's going to be a pretty special time for fans to get to hang out with some of their favorite Cardinals and ask questions and really just get and talk and communicate and have a little chat with us. So also, surrounding fantasy football and doing it for a good cause. So, you can go to bigleagueimpact.org to sign up and be a part of this year's fantasy football event. And I would encourage anybody that hasn't, take a look and see if it's something that you can do and be a part of, because it's a lot of fun.
And Kyle, we have multiple texts here to the station during this segment thanking you for coming out to baseball camps and signing autographs. Obviously, you have an impact when you sign autographs. What's that all about? You headed to a camp? My son was at a camp. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago during the last homestand, and some of it was during the road trip, and then on Thursday I was able to come and actually go to his last day of his camp. And I don't know if Mills had hit Gibson on his name tag or what happened, but somehow people found out that Mills was my son. So during the lunch hour, we were sitting there and Mills was finishing up his part, and then, kids started kind of filtering my way, and somehow they found out that I was sitting there watching him play. So got to sign autographs for 30 or 40 minutes and meet some of the campers, probably all the campers, but got to meet a lot of them and sit and chat with kids. So it was fun. Anytime you can do that and hopefully bring a little bit of excitement to somebody's day, it's a fun part of the job.
Have your kids realized what you're all about in terms of being a major league player, a pitcher that's been in the league a long time, or are your kids like, man, that's my dad, he's a major leaguer, or do they just kind of say, nah, that's just dad?
I think a little bit of both, obviously. The younger two, I don't know how much, they quite get it, but Mills and Hayden, the older two, I think they have a pretty good idea of all of it. I'm hoping that we can, make sure that we instill in them, that this is a pretty fortunate situation, and that not too many kids get to do some of the things they're getting to do. So if we can make sure they understand to be thankful and show gratitude for all of this, that's really the goal. But Yeah, I think the older two are starting to understand it, and sometimes they want me to play till I'm 45, and sometimes they want me to be home. That's the trick of it. So, but it's been fun.
Hey, Kyle, Chaim Bloom told me that when he was the general manager of the Red Sox, he would do a hit on their all sports station up there while his kids were eating breakfast. So he'd do the hit and they're vicious in Boston. He said, I'd go do my hit on Boston radio. He said, I'd go do my hit, and then I'd come back to the breakfast table, and the radio interview seemed like a Girl Scout bake sale because his kids were just all over him. So at some point, the kids are going to say, hey, Dad, what's up with that pitch?
Every now and then, my daughter, my 10-year-old, she's very polite and never thinks that I am the reason I give up runs. Obviously, somebody else always does something. But every now and then, she'll look at me when it's a bad game. She'll like, what happened on that one? Something like that. She's so polite about it. But it's you get some of the best questions. But I've told people, kids, if I can leave the field at the field and I can just come home, my kids tend to make everything better if it's a bad day at work.
That's awesome. You're a great guy. Thanks for the time. We appreciate it. Have a good start tomorrow, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kyle. Kyle Gibson, Cardinal right-hander on 101 ESPN.
I think he's got a future, Randy.
I think he does too. Yeah.
When the playing days are over, once you get behind a mic, he's in.
He'll be really good at it, no doubt about it.
The Cardinals did a video, and they asked the players, what would you be doing if you weren't playing baseball? And a lot of them didn't know. A lot of them said probably coaching baseball. And Gibson was like locked in. He's like, I'd be talking about baseball. And they put up a little picture of him in like a suit and stuff like that with a broadcaster and things on it. He's going to be there. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait.
No doubt about it. We're going to head down the stretch with Rocc and Roll next on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about Gloria Lou. If you are thinking about selling your home, there's really only one agent in the St. Louis metro area to call, and that is Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria's number is 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or you can find her on the web at gloriahasthebuyers.com. And they have so many great ideas for you with Gloria Lou. For example, you can sell your home, get the cash, and then stay in the home for up to 12 months while you find or build your dream home. Gloria Lou is able to eliminate traditional hassles of buying and selling at the same time, and she already has buyers for you. That's pretty cool, isn't it? That she has thousands of ready buyers from over 20 years in an exclusive database, people that are looking to buy in your neighborhood and in your price range. That's how Gloria nets you the most money and creates the highest demand, many times with multiple offers, which means more money in your pocket. She can explain it all to you. Give Gloria a call, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888. Visit gloriahasthebuyers.com. As always, Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date. Learn more at gloriahasthebuyers.com. kids, you can hang with Jamie Rivers, 101 ESPN, and Stella Artois Thursday from 6 to 8 at Helen Fitzgerald's. Stella Artois partnering with Hot Ones to bring hot wings and hot trivia to St. Louis. Come watch the festivities tomorrow as our winning teams from our prior trivia events return to compete in tomorrow's finals competition. Enjoy some free Stella sampling and your chance at attendance prizes while you're there. That's tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. with Jamie Rivers at Helen Fitzgerald's. Get more info at 101ESPN.com. And oh, by the way, now is your opportunity to win tickets to see Green Day. Green Day is going to be here at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, and 101 ESPN is your chance to win a pair of lawn tickets to see them with special guest Rancid. That is a week from tomorrow at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Text in to win free tickets now by answering our trivia question, or you can just go to our website, 101ESPN.com, for all the details and a bonus chance to register to win tickets to Green Day as well. But right now, Matthew has a question for you, and if you answer it correctly, answer that baby correctly, then you will be on your way to see Green Day and Rancid a week from tomorrow at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater with a pair of tickets. Matthew, what do you got for us?
I like to throw in some actual music trivia every once in a while with these bands so that maybe a super fan gets the tickets they need. But this one's kind of easy, but I'm going to throw it out anyway.
Okay.
What was the first album by Green Day that went #1 on the U.S. charts?
Okay.
It was the first album.
I like that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good one. All right, Matthew, you are heading out of town, but you still have one segment left here. So we can't just let you bail without doing a segment with us. So
I got to do one more really quickly. This is the sound. I actually told Randy about this sound yesterday because it hit my timeline, but I really want Danny Mac to hear it. This is Cal Ripken Jr. talking about the time the Yankees tried to recruit him using 2 All-Stars during the All-Star game, and then, the big man, he had an effect.
I remember the Yankees going to the All-Star game that year. Don Mattingly and Dave Winfield, their job was to convince me that it's really good to play in New York. They were pressing me for the first couple days at the All-Star game. And then we opened up after the All-Star game with them. And to start the second half of the season, we were at home. And there was an article that came out that morning. Steinbrenner was criticizing Mattingly and Winfield. And I looked over and gave my hands to them in the dugout. They go.
Threw his hands up after he saw Steinbrenner directly coming after the 2 players who were sent to recruit him. How many times do you think Steinbrenner shot his own foot off like that?
Oh, a lot. I would say a lot. Yeah, for sure. I think the other cool part about that, though, and I bet it happens all the time, and maybe more so back then, is how many times a player recruits a player to a particular situation. Now, with guys sharing agents so much and they're friends and they work out together in the offseason, I would imagine, Randy, that it happens more in the offseason than it does maybe at an all-star game, but it happens all the time.
And Albert Pujols coming back here. That was all set up by guys on the Cardinals, and they tried really hard. Boy, the Cardinals put the full court press on Hayward to come back. Remember with Waino and Holiday and the gang, and he decided that this team was too old, and he wound up winning a World Series. But, yeah, it happens all the time. And I would think that there are times at an all-star game where, it was clear to Cardinal players, right, that Arenado wanted to be here.
Yeah.
He was sending videos to Waino to send to Mo.
And the agents are a big part of it. I mean, they can manipulate a situation, too, and just say to an organization, my guy wants out. He wants to go here, find the best deal. And if you make that happen, he'll acquiesce and waive his trade clause and say, I'll go play for that team.
And by the way, if you aren't aware of it, Google Dave Winfield, George Steinbrenner, because George Steinbrenner hired a guy to get dirt on Dave Winfield.
Isn't it unbelievable?
That's why
unbelievable.
He got suspended, and it's actually why the Yankees had their most recent dynasty, because Steinbrenner got suspended. They put Gene Michael in charge. Steinbrenner would have traded all those kids, Rivera, Posada, Jeter, all those guys.
The core 4.
Yeah, but they became an organization that valued their kids and valued stability. And while Steinbrenner was suspended, that group of players got going, and by the time he got back, it was already good to go. And so he didn't trade all the kids. But if it wouldn't have been for him getting suspended, I guarantee all those young players would have been traded for older veterans.
I also think that Don Mattingly is a Hall of Famer.
I agree 100%.
Playing in New York, as good as he was defensively, only though had a shot for postseason play in 1995. That was it. That was the series that Griffey scored the winning run in Seattle, and they talk about him saving baseball in Seattle, but Mattingly was on that team, and they wanted him to come back. He thought about coming back and then stayed away in 1996. And if he comes back in 96, they probably put a ring on him, which then would solidify his resume, I would think, for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was a Yankee at the worst time to be a Yankee.
Oh, man.
But he was their best player, too.
For a long time. Yeah. And a batting savant and a guy that was awesome in the box and had a chance to always propel them to a championship, and it just didn't work out.
No.
Congratulations, by the way, to Kyle, who is the winner of our tickets. The answer to the question was, in fact, American Idiot. Dookie, by the way, which was a lot of people's guesses, topped out at 2 on the U.S. charts. It hit number 1 in Canada, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. Insomniac also hit number 2 on the U.S. charts, but it wasn't until American Idiot, which obviously hit number 1 just worldwide in pretty much every other country. American Idiot, their first album to hit number 1 overall. So congratulations to Kyle, and enjoy that concert.
Awesome. And here's the genesis of the Steinbrenner Winfield thing. So Steinbrenner got mad at Winfield because he invoked his 10-5 rights and wouldn't agree to a trade. So Steinbrenner hires a former gambler, or then a gambler, named Howie Spira, S-P-I-R-A, to get dirt on Dave Winfield and Dave Winfield's foundation. Spira had been an unpaid publicist for the foundation for the previous decade, but had now gotten himself into a large gambling hole, owing $100,000 to various bookies. On hearing the latest Winfield lawsuit, he approached Steinbrenner and said that he could provide proof that Winfield had been squandering into his foundation's money. That had not happened, and that's when Steinbrenner decided, okay, well, I can use this guy. Well, Spira got some money. Steinbrenner refused to pay more and got Spira charged with extortion, but that also got George Steinbrenner suspended by baseball.
Don't you kind of miss George?
Oh, yeah, big time, big time. Yeah, we need more of that.
Yeah, just one of those personalities that kind of just anything that he said, you grabbed attention. I know you're not going to like this. Randy kind of reminds me of Jerry Jones a little bit. Mm-hmm. Anything that comes out of his mouth, you pay attention a little bit.
Yeah.
Steinbrenner was like that for me.
But he was so mean to his players.
It's unbelievable that he would do that.
Yeah, if you're making this much money, you should perform this way. It was pretty funny. Matthew is on his way to a wedding, not his wedding, but a wedding over the weekend. So Matthew's going to be out for the next couple of days. Bradford Bruns will be in. Great job as always, sir.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the next 2 days.
Thank you. We won't with you not here.
Yeah, Matthew.
Sorry, guys. I know there's some listeners who will, but I'm going to enjoy without you guys.
Great job by Brooke today, and she'll be back with us tomorrow. Danny, as always, you're the best.
You are too. Thanks for having me. As always, it's fun to do our show.
It is great to do our show. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of this show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great hump day, St. Louis.